All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hey, you dudes out there on the 10 line, come on in, man. It's the Crouch Your Bow podcast, episode 35 with me, Sir Venom IK. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? With my guest this week for the, what's the second time you've been on the cast, right?
Yes.
Yeah, second time. My man, Citizen9. How you doing, buddy? What you been working on this week?
Schoolwork.
Schoolwork.
It's just school the last 2 days.
Schoolwork. Well, I guess that's a thing. Got to get them edumacations going, right? But that's what we do here at Venom's School of Average. We educate people on how not to be so terrible, but maybe a little bit more average. What a fancy thing. Well, it's good to see you, man. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of news. There's a lot of news happening right now. Italian boats are out. The Italian boats are in testing. Subs are still going. They're coming no matter what. AA changed, and it's still meh. Man, there's quite a bit. Where do we want to start? Let's start with the AA. With the AA change now, instead of hitting the O button or the tilde, you to swap your zone. Okay, I'm going to focus over here, and then there's a 15-second cooldown, and then you can focus the other side of the boat, giving a little bit of bonuses. Now you just look in the direction and hit O, and then there's a burst. And then it just kind of fiddles out, making it terrible. What do you think? What do you think of this new AA?
As far as compared to the old system where you had to manually set it and took X amount of seconds for whatever ship you're in, I prefer this one, but I don't prefer the damage output. It's much easier to just look over at a plane and press a button and then go back to whatever I was doing. Because I found that a lot of times when a CV is focusing you, you're going to be typically either doing nothing or just in the middle of a brawl or a fight that you need to be paying attention to. Yeah. So it allows you to not have to worry about the planes as much.
That's good. It's kind of a forget about it type mechanic, which is fine because nobody really gives a shit about CVs anyway until they dump like a bajillion damage on them when they don't need to. I also think that it's kind of weird, man, because they came out in the original instance before the rework all happened. CV Mageddon, is that a thing? Is that what we call it? CV Mageddon.
I prefer the rework.
Rework. All right, we'll accept that. The rework. Basically, the problem with AA I saw was that it was so inconsistent. You would either shoot everything down or you wouldn't shoot anything down. Or you would shoot it all down after they made their drops, and then guess what? You're dead because there were so many squads coming at you. Now, then they changed it to where AA was terrible, then it was too strong, then it was a little bit better because it was a little bit more balanced. Then they changed the entire thing into this new zoning section. Then it was terrible. Then it was too strong. Then it was okay, fairly balanced. I thought the last iteration was fairly balanced. Now they changed it again, and I'm like, they don't have an idea what they're doing, or maybe they do have an idea what they're doing, but they are going around the long way around it. I mean, and they get something where it's halfway decent, and then they just scrap it. And they come up with something completely new, and then they have to go through the testing purposes all over again. It's kind of frustrating for a player. What do you think?
I guess the frustration would be if you spend enough time learning and figuring out the old system.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess. What I really don't like about AA right now is I cannot in any way see a purpose to AA skills or modules on your ship. I also don't like how they've changed it up so defensive fire is a nice little novelty consumable to have, but doesn't really feel like it does anything. It's kind of just something that exists, and I feel like they took too much AA power away from high AA ships and gave it to the ships without AA.
I think it's. I think that you bring up an interesting point about the AA button, how it's just kind of there right now and doesn't really do anything. Even before they went to this, let's just look and press the O button or the tilde, and there's our AA. Me and a couple of the other community contributors, me, Jace, and B6, we were talking in the chat the other day about how AA buttons should still spread the drops. make it harder for that CV to get, or
Oh,
slow
yes,
slow
totally.
slow down the aiming reticule or something, because it does nothing but what does it actually do? Does anybody know what it
Right.
actually does?
Yes. So I'm a dirty, filthy CV player when the rework happened. I haven't played them for months, but AA primarily acts as more of a deterrent from striking more than something that actually prevents it. So if something has high AA and I'm in a CV and I want to strike it, I can, but I have to ask myself, is it worth the planes? But it sucks if you're on the receiving end because if that CV decides, oh, I'm just going to go for you anyways, you just have no defense. And
Well,
it's one of those big things.
even if you did push it up there and you're a high tier C or a high tier AA boat, let's just for example say Demonies that has some of the best AA there at tier 10. Uh, all they have to do is slingshot into you, and your AA sucks, and your AA means dick. So I mean, it's a very frustrating thing for both sides, of it. And I'm not just gonna sit there and say it's all fuck the CVs, because they got to get their shit off too. But as a regular player, an average player who doesn't do CVs very often, there's got to be some kind of balance. And right now, the way that they've continued to change the way the AA works and change the AA mechanics over and over and over again, there's no consistency in it still. And I think that's one of the hardest things for me to accept is the inconsistencies.
Yeah. I do like the change for the low AA ships. It really kind of helps out some weaker destroyers. But I would like to see defensive fire uh, come back into form a little bit. If they're going to keep the damage the same, that's fine. Keep it focused on flag, but it should have a little bit of a scatter mechanic. Because you shouldn't be able to just fly through defensive fire, line up a perfect drop, and then nuke somebody's health bar because of it.
I
When
agree.
there's nothing they can do.
I wholly agree with that. There should not be any nuking. I also think that there should take off detonation abilities from planes.
Just get rid of them.
Well, I mean, detonations, whatever. I mean, they happen less than 1% of the time, but it's very annoying when you cannot detonate the CV, but they can detonate you. That
Yeah.
doesn't seem a little fair. So I think that they should just in accordance with this pretty much fairness, I guess, basically is take off the detonation ability for CVs, and then they're fix the fucking AA, and I think we're fine. I think the damage. What do you think
So
about the damage on CVs right now? You think the damage is fine? I still think the rockets are a
Uh,
little bit strong, but
rockets are far too good against destroyers.
yeah. Well, everything's good against destroyers apparently.
Yeah,
Which is
but I
some.
feel like, given the amount of roles a destroyer has, and typically their positioning is going to be in front of teams instead of with the AA, if CVs are able to do so much damage in spotting to them, it really neuters the DD. So I feel like the damage to destroyers should be very limited, and CV should be focusing cruisers and battleships because that's just they have to have some form of counter.
I think that, and I'm not one to give DDs anything. Fuck them. That's generally my attitude of DDs. And somebody who plays DDs pretty much exclusively in the rank seasons. I understand both sides of this coin here, of how strong CVs can be against destroyers. And with the new rank season coming up at tier 6, these rank sprints, uh, with CVs available, it's going to be a pain in the ass, and especially with the shitty AA mechanic that we got going on right now. But I think there's a lot being put onto the destroyers lately. As you've got the spot, you've pretty much got a cap. You can't really do any. You have to zone. You have to spot for everybody. You got to spot torps. So, nobody's in there to support you, and then you got the CV hanging around you. Then you got no counter to radar except for being at 12 kilometers or 12.1. I mean, the DD's life right now sucks, and they're so busy. And then we got subs coming in, and they're going to be the only ones to be able to go over there and fight with them. DDs, there's a lot of pressure on DD players to perform.
I assume we'll get to subs later on, right?
No, I mean we could talk a little bit about it today. That was the topic last week.
Well, okay. Well, yeah. It's just Yeah, there's a lot that you have to do as a destroyer, and a lot of that doesn't really reward you in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
um, but yeah, just something so that just rocket planes. Rocket planes just need to be a little toned down. Is the biggest issue with me because right now you can just line up a drop perfectly on a
chunk them
DD
for
with its
7,
AA
8K.
off and chunk them. Yeah, and really the only counter is just don't get hit.
Just dodge.
That's not a counter. Yeah.
Just dodge, man. That's all you can do. And in some of the boats, it's easier to just dodge. You know, like the French DDs with terrible AA, you can dodge those pretty quick because they are fast enough to make the maneuverability worthwhile when those drops are coming. But overall, I mean, it's a rough life. It's a rough life for DDs right now. It's a rough life for DDs. Speaking of rough life for not DDs, but well, I guess for DDs and everything else out there, the Smolensk has come out, and this is just another Smolensk and the Colbert also released together, and the Friesland released today for 1,000,000 free XP. You guys can go pick that up. I highly recommend the Friesland. By the way, this thing is dirty. 5 kilometer hydro, no torpedoes, and you only got 4 guns, but 4 of the fastest shooting guns at tier 9, other than maybe the Kitakaze. These things are dirty, man. Every one of these things are nasty, and they're high fire rate, high fire chance, and very low health and very squishy.
And that ship actually definitely fastest reloading main guns in the game and secondaries for that matter.
Yeah, Smolensk,
But of
Colbert,
course, you
and
only
the
have one of them.
Friesland. What do you think? There's this big air of I don't know. The game has shifted. The game has shifted from when I first started playing a couple years ago to where battleships kind of ruled everything. You know, if you were a cruiser, you were short-lived cruisers back in the day. I don't know if the cruisers got better or if the mechanics in the game shifted or changed to where they're not being punished as hard for broadsiding anymore because of shell mechanics under 10 kilometers, blah blah blah. All you can get is an overpin. So you have to now they're pushing the game further away. You have to be a minimum of 12 kilometers before you can get these depth strikes anymore. I don't tell you how many times back in the day we would get dev strikes on Omahas from 10 kilometers or 4 kilometers. Now everything's just overpins, and then you eat like 9 torps. But
Well, I haven't found any issue with cruisers being a little bit too overpenny, except for the skinny ones. The skinny cruisers are typically the ones where if you shoot them, nothing happens. And
Seattle Worcesters.
Smolensk is actually one of those ones. I've had issues with that ship where if I'm within 10 kilometers of it, I cannot damage it properly.
Yeah.
They'll just sit broadside to me, and I'll just shoot. Half my shells will overpen, the other half will miss. And it's just like, okay.
All right. Yeah, or you get 2 broken shells and kill a guy, but that's a thing, or a bounce and kill a guy. But then on the other hand, the rest of the dynamic of the game has shifted to nothing but fire damage.
Yeah, there was definitely a big focus on HE spam until the Russian battleships did come out. And then we've gotten a hell of a lot more of it with Smolensk and Friesland and what's the other one? Colbert.
The Colbert. Yeah.
I haven't played the Friesland, so I really can't speak on it yet. I'll get to it in the next few days. The Colbert, I did get to play on the press account. I actually found it reasonably well balanced. I didn't think it was overpowered. It does its damage in bursts. But then the Smolensk is just overpowered and insane. Probably the most brokenly overpowered thing they've released in a long time.
The spreadsheet says that the win rate on that's somewhere around 52, 53% or something, and that's right in line with the rest of the tier 10 or tier 10 cruisers. I want to say fuck the spreadsheet on this one because this thing is nasty. If you want to really balance this boat, just take off the smoke. Take off the smoke, make it fucking vulnerable, and it'll be fine. Because that smoke which really pushes it over the edge for me. Without it, it's fine. You just have to stay mobile.
Yeah, I found that the smoke is the biggest issue for me, because we spend all this time avoiding smoke on light cruisers, and then they just throw it up in the air, and then they just give it to them anyways. Like with the whole mess of the British line, and then you have the Americans just making sure that they don't get smoked. And it just seems like they just kind of threw it out. And then
They
I've had a lot of people
they
say,
took
it's not like a Kutuzov or light cruiser, but it's a Kutuzov.
it's definitely a cooter with smaller guns, man. It's a nasty boat. And I absolutely recommend people getting it now before they change it. How do you think the IFHE changes are going to affect boats like this?
Uh, I don't really know how it's going to really change things, just because we really don't know exactly what's going to happen with IFHE changes. I
This
believe
is
they're
true.
reducing plating for cruisers, right, on the bow.
Uh, basically with IFHE, you're going to be guaranteed pins on things that are higher than your level. Everything at your level, you won't need IFHE because you'll be able to pin them.
So here's the thing. IFHE on that boat, the Smolensk, is only used for damaging cruisers. Now, it is very effective at damaging the cruisers, but it doesn't really handle tier 10s very well because they have 30mm sides.
True.
If you can damage the bow of a cruiser without having to use IFHE, that ship won't care. It'll actually get a buff if IFHE gets nerfed. And cruiser plating gets nerfed as well.
The other part of that, the other part of the IFHE change is 50% fire chance reduction, which I think is long overdue because the fires are getting pretty ridiculously out of hand. And the way that they have it working currently is you take IFHE, you lose 3%, but then you take DE and you gain 2% back, and then basically with the flags, it ends up being like somewhere around like a -1% fire chance, which is a wash in my book, which does absolutely nothing. So the more you pin, the more chance you have to set on fire. So with IFHE, your fire chance is better than without it, simply for the fact that you pin more and you get more damage permanently. So I think that honestly, they've given everybody a choice. They forced battleships into shooting HE at things. Now they're forcing forcing cruisers into making this choice. Take off the fucking fire chance overall, altogether, off of IFHE, because then it makes some of these cruisers a little bit too strong. Take it off. Force them. You're either going to get fires or you're not going to get fires. But if you're not going to get fires, you're going to get this high damage, which is exactly what leads us into SAP. But that's another topic for later on down the line. Guys, we're hanging out with my man Citizen9 right here. You guys can him up on his Twitch, twitch.tv/Citizen9. There you go, right there. And then, of course, I am Sir Venom IK. You guys can hit me up on the Twitter at Sir_Venom_IK. So, man, so much.
Your suggestion actually just gave me a better idea with IFHE. Right now, you know how it's a static fire chance, 3%.
Right.
Doesn't really change anything. So on some ships, you run it, you don't care, like Henry IV. Some ships, it actually, affects your fire chance, and you'll notice it. Like if you play a Worcester with and without IFHE, you'll definitely notice the fire difference.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just make it percentage based on your fires? So you lose X% of your fire chance.
Well, if it's 10%, that doesn't actually mean 10%. You don't start out at 90. Well, if your 10% is 11, then you're only losing 1.1% of your actual fire chance. Right. So you're still way high at 10, or 9, whatever, 9.9, which frustration ensues with that, because 10%, it's not actually 10%, it's 10% of something else that it's saying. It's all misconstrued and misconfusions, like fire prevention is, because that says, it's a 10% chance in fire reduction. Well, it's not actually 10%. It's more like 6% on the Big Gun Conqueror, but that 6% still puts it at 59% fire chance, which is way too high.
I'd be 57, but yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean, but still.
The Big Gun Conqueror Thunder 2.0.
Yeah. Fucking 64%, 65% fire chance. 10% off of that, 6.5. Holy shit, I'm still over 50%. Which means, in all honesty, I think they should change fire percentage on that fire prevention to about 40%. 40% reduction. That's what I'll ask for, but I'll settle for 25%, something, because I'm on fire all the time still.
Yeah, I think It's either you have to do something about the damage output of fires, or you have to do something that allows the battleships to be able to recover from the fires better. Because as it stands right now, just having 5 heals, if you get lit on a double fire, that's going to take 2 of your heals away.
40%.
Yeah,
Well, in the
which is
past it was
insane.
40%. I don't know what the actual numbers are now if they've actually changed it.
Top
But
of my head.
everybody and you know when you throw things out like that and you're like, I think something needs to deal with fire prevention. It's not good enough. And they're like, well, you're only on 3 fires. And I'm like, but I'm on fire all the fucking time. Yeah, but it could have been 4. And I was like, that's not a fucking answer. That doesn't solve the fucking problem of how much I'm on fucking fire. And maybe a diminishing returns. Maybe you can be on fire, but you can't die because of fires, because fire's not going to sink a goddamn ship unless it hits at a fucking explosion. You know, it hits the fucking magazines.
Fire damage is the reason I can't make an Ohio secondary build work.
Dude just set on fire too much.
Yeah, you can't run around without fire prevention, especially with the smallest getting released right now.
True.
You burn out.
I
Not much you can do.
I honestly, Ohio. Well, let's talk about that. That's back on testing again. Not a fan. I don't like these
Nope.
boats. I don't like these
I
boats.
don't like the Ohio either. I played a couple games in the Ohio, like 3-4 in a row. I switched to Montana, and the Montana felt 10 times better. And it was just the shell velocity. It was really what it boiled down to.
You were
the guns are so slow on that boat.
you were not privy to the previous testing phases as you are now brand new CC, right? So
Right, I didn't get the first round.
welcome to the brotherhood, I guess. Is the right word there, but the Ohio number wise previously was on par with the Montana number wise. We're talking stat wise, dispersion wise, and all this other stuff. And I sat there and I argued with some people in there. I was like, yeah, this thing does not feel like the Montana. They're like, what are you talking about? The number's right here. It says it should work on par with the Montana. I'm like, have you fucking played this goddamn thing? This thing is terrible. It was good up close and that's it. And that's the biggest problem I have with a lot of these secondary spec boats is that they're good at one thing and one thing only. Well, when 90% of the games that I'm playing or that are being played out there are from that everybody's sitting back 15 to 18 kilometers, it doesn't really benefit the secondary boats, and so I don't understand why they continue to put these secondary spec boats in. Well, but they're fun. Well, they may be fun, but they're not good. I think the Georgia's terrible. I think the Massachusetts is terrible, mainly because of its main gun accuracy on it's terrible, and then the Ohio is the same thing. But they did nerf the Ohio dispersion a little bit, so it wasn't as good from medium range, so you had to really push in to actually get it to work. But it is good when it is up close, and it is better than the Montana when it is up close. But anything past 12 kilometers, I'll take Montana all day.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree. I definitely prefer the Montana's just more mass. We're going back to this one, but more mass. Just really,
I think this.
you feel it. I'm
think
more
it's just-
comfortable with those guns because I guess there's a little bit of bias. I have like 450 games of the
Yeah.
Montana, but I'll disagree with you on the Georgia, and the Massachusetts. I love those boats, but the Ohio just doesn't feel like the guns are good enough. The accuracy is fine to me, but I called it the marshmallow shooter of battleships because it just felt like I was shooting marshmallows at people.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the thing about the Georgia is I've only got 6 guns, and 6 guns on 2 guns per turret just does not leave a good taste in my mouth. And the fact that I literally ran past a guy and sitting in a Musashi, ran past him, dropped my back 2 guns in there, hit him for 32,000 damage, and did not kill the motherfucker. Double Citadel, 32,000, didn't kill him. 3 guns would have killed him. If I get 3 Citadels there, and that's a death. And then that's one thing. That's one thing. Like the Gneisenau and the 15-inch guns, they always frustrate me because they just don't have it's not enough damage to put people down when you get into trouble and to get yourself out of trouble. Whereas the North Carolina at tier 8, the Iowa at tier 9, and the Montana at tier 10, you can get yourself out of that trouble that you get into if you go on a push because they have fucking more guns.
Yeah, the guns in the Georgia can definitely leave something to be desired, especially only having 6. I just like it because of the speed boost. Going
Speed
around
boost
40
again.
knots is just always amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. I mean, I'll give it that. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Massachusetts or the Georgia, but I do have a million experience in the Massachusetts because it's one of those boats that I just don't give a shit. All right, guys, let's do Massachusetts time. Let's roll, and we just go straight on in from the beginning of the game. We push straight on in, and we end up winning the majority of those games. But it's not something that I ever count on, and I don't care. It's not a good boat, and people that think that they're doing well or think that I play well in this boat, I'm like, I really don't care because it's a shitty boat, and you don't have to be smart to play those secondary spec boats. Just push in. That's all you need to do.
Well, for some secondary builds, especially one like IFHE Kerfer, the biggest thing is just knowing when you can make your push in order to make that boat effective.
Yeah, so basically the German play style has been, for me, you float around and you pray that you hit something for about 10 minutes, and then you pick a spot and then you fucking go, and hopefully somebody comes with you and you don't hit any fucking pedes on your way in, and that's pretty much the play style. It's a very slow play, but if it's a big wide open map, you're fucked. But if you get on something like North, which has been rampant for me lately, then you're pretty good. I mean, you can get up right behind that island, push on out, and get
it's
close.
all about just patience, waiting for that moment. Once you can go W, you can just hard push a whole flank with those secondaries. But a lot of the times, you're right. You just, let's hope I hit something. And a lot of times, it's just trying not to get damaged too much, so that way you can actually make a push.
Yeah.
When you need to.
Getting in, spotting it early. You can pretty much spot when you're going to be able to go push based on, okay, this guy needs to die. Now I can make my push once he dies. And then you try to position yourself and minimize the damage that you take until it's time to make that push. I mean, there is a little bit of skill involved in following the game, but actually playing the boat, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's really hard to press control and click at the same time.
Pretty much. Well, I mean, you can do it, but good luck. Can you accept what they give you back? That's the problem. That begs this next question that I have for you. I've been asking all my guests for the last couple of weeks. Do you think good aim is rewarded?
Yeah.
How so?
If you can't aim properly, you're not going to get rewarded consistently.
Right. There you go. That's what I was waiting for. Go ahead. Finish.
If you're missing, if your aim is terrible and you don't put the cursor in the right spot for 9 out of 10 of your salvos, majority of the time you're just not going to do anything. But if you're putting your cursor in the right spot for 9 out of 10, yeah, a couple of them are just going to completely give you the middle finger, and there's nothing you can do about it. And some of them are going to depth strike the other guy. So there's a payoff, and there's not. So
yes and no is the answer.
Properly, the odds are you're not going to do any damage. So.
Well, I've come to the realization that it doesn't even matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how good your aim is. You can put your shells there 10 times out of 10 where they're supposed to be. And depending on who you are, I say who you are because I have some of the worst RNG. Some of the boats just say fuck you. And we're talking Germans, we're talking a lot of other things. My dogs are going crazy over here for something. I don't know what's going on. But the answer to the question is, can you accept what you're given when you do actually have the good aim? So I think aiming is about 10% part of this game, positioning another 10%, and then how you react to the rest of the game is the other 10%. The rest of it is all RNG. So it's a 70-30 RNG to skill when it comes to this game. What would you say to that?
I'd say it's a 70-20-10. It's all positioning, really.
You think positioning 70% of it?
You have to position properly in order to do damage, because there are some things that don't even require, I would say require RNG, but like torpedoes, but then again, those also have dispersion on them.
Torpedoes are 100% avoidable.
if you don't put yourself in the right position to make the shot or to even attempt a shot, then it doesn't matter what the RNG is because it doesn't play a thing at all.
All right, so
And
position
if you put
position
yourself
is
in the
yours.
wrong position where you just die in 5 minutes, you've negated RNG. You're already dead.
Yeah.
So
RNG fucked you over when you made that decision, right?
it's all about letting RNG chances. And this is playing like a battleship or a fire damage cruiser. It's
Right.
just letting RNG have enough chances with you. And that's where your positioning comes in. If
Exactly.
you're positioning poorly, you're not giving yourself enough chances to have a high impact game.
They a lot of people have said how you react to the time awareness is probably more. Some people have said that. I think where you put your shot is really important. But if you're not in the right position, I agree. If you're not in the right position, then it doesn't fucking matter anyway. Because even if you do hit and you do get good RNG, you're probably not going to do a whole lot because you're aiming at the bow of this motherfucker or whatever. I still think that 70% of the game is left up to RNG because once you pull that trigger, it's out of your fucking hands. It's out of your hands. You have no control once you push that trigger. Once you drop those torps, you have no control over it whatsoever. So I think there's a lot of RNG involved in this game, but position is something that you can control. Where you put your shots and then how you react to the enemy team. Those are the only things that you need skillful in this game. All right, moving on. Tier 6 rank sprint. You ready for this?
There's a tier 6 rank sprint.
Starts tomorrow.
Whatever. It's rank sprint. I don't typically pay attention to rank sprint. I just take them on stream and do them in about 2 to 3 hours. Then
These don't usually take too long. But there's a T6 rank sprint.
Assume divisions, right?
Yeah, 2-man divisions. I believe it's a 6v6 with a CV, or 7v7 with a CV. One or the other.
With the possibility of a CV.
Yeah.
Not guaranteed. There will probably be a dumb amount of CVs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are tier 6 CVs, and tier 6 CVs I feel that are pretty balanced. Although the AA sucks right now, so I don't know how balanced it's going to be.
Yeah, I haven't played that tier 6 enough to really fight enough tier 6. How they interact with my boat, so
7 versus 7 with 1 CV is what I'm getting told here. For that top picks, you got some picks
for
DDs.
Battleships here.
Start with DDs.
T61's always a top pick.
T61, yeah.
You can't go wrong with that boat. It's so good.
No, it's fucking fantastic, and that hydro makes it even better. T61, I have my top pick as well. I have Shinonome Farragut, my number 2 and 3 picks, and then a sleeper pick for the Hatsuharu because of that 5.8 kilometer detection. Pretty much out detects the entire tier.
Grinded the Hatsuharu. No.
You don't like it? Now I actually ranked out on this during the first full tier 6 rank season. I actually ranked out on the Hatsi because of the 5.8 kilometer detection. But the UK DDs have come out since then, and I believe their detection's pretty close. I'm not quite sure what the tier 6. What is that? Is that the Icarus?
Sure what the Icarus gets. There's 2, right? The Gallant is.
Yeah, that thing's a piece of shit. The Gallant's terrible.
Shinonome has always been a really boat, so yeah, that's definitely going to be up there. Not sure about the Farragut. I haven't played in a while. I think it gets 5 guns on a 4-second.
It's
should be fine.
The only thing with the Farragut's 6.4 kilometer detection and 6.4 kilometer torpedoes. So that's the only downside to that one. The other one that people are going to play a lot is the Fubuki with the 10 kilometer torps, 9 of them, as opposed to the Hatsuharu's 6. The Hatsuharu's reloads are faster than the Fubuki's, so you can kind of spit more out.
Well, just looking through the list of tier 6 DDs, I wonder if we'll see any Guapard or how do you say it? I like
The Guepards, I think that
I haven't played it, so I have no idea. If it's even viable
the Guepard is fine. It does have the reload booster, but it's gonna be like the Mogador this season. It's gonna go to the outside, and then unless they have the balls to go up in the fucking caps, and actually engage these DDs under duress from everything else, they're gonna be useless. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Problem I found with the Mogar is it required teammates to be competent, know how to use a Mogador, and the problem with that is if you ever have to say the words "I need my teammates to do something" in ranked, you're not setting yourself up for a good time.
Let's go with the cruisers. I've got the Perth / Leander
Perth, yep.
as my number
Mm-hmm.
one here with that rolling smoke. Watching fucking Keskin K35, I like to call him, rank out in 79 games in the Leander that season. Puts it high on my list as long as you're smart and you have teams to do stuff.
Oh, yeah, Perth will definitely be good. Let's see. Let me just see what tier 6 cruises we got working here.
My number 2s and 3s are the Dallas and the Degrassi.
I was gonna say the Dallas is it's a good pick, definitely a good ship. I'll probably be the one weird guy who brings the Pensacola.
The Pensacola is such a good boat, and especially when they moved it down a tier, moved it down from tier 7 to tier 6. Man, that AP on that boat is disgusting.
Yeah.
At tier 6, absolutely disgusting.
I don't think people realize it. It has the best offensive firepower for a tier 6 cruiser.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has the 10-203s. No one else is working with that at that tier. And so you can absolutely remove cruisers with that boat.
Bottom of the list is probably Aoba here.
Aoba.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of just an HE spammer. AP is only going to work
Flat broadside.
Close. Yeah, flat broadside. You only get 6 shells, so it's not like you're going to be dev striking anything. So yeah, not a great boat to bring. Wouldn't recommend it.
Also, my sleeper pick and what I want to see somebody do, and I will give. I'll tell you right now. I'll give them. Yeah, exactly. Graf Spay. If somebody fucking ranks out in nothing but the Graf Spay, I'll give them two community contributor container codes. But I want to see all the games, and it can't be just the last fucking game because then that's cheating. But you got to play the entire season in the Graf Spay. I would love to do that. I would love to see that. I ain't gonna do it because I think it's dumb. But I would love to see it. Somebody do it.
Speaking of codes, I need to GM them.
Yeah, you need to. Then for battleships, I have Arizona in my number 1 pick here.
If there's aircraft carriers, unfortunately, I don't think the Arizona is going to be the best boat you want to be in.
No.
But if there's no aircraft carriers, Arizona's always going to be pretty good. The problem I found with ranked, though, is especially down at tier 6, you might have a lot of battleships, and the Arizona doesn't really handle it well because they can just angle to it, and a lot of the 15-inch guns don't care.
Nah, they're 14-inch guns.
The last rank sprint I found, one of the most overpowered ships was West Virginia. Surprisingly enough, I took a lot of people down country road with me.
Yeah.
And
the David Hasselhoff version of Country Road because it's the best version. The West Virginia is a good choice. The only problem I can potentially foresee is the damage that's coming in from the planes. I watched a West Virginia get Ryujo'd with just rocket planes, 20,000 damage in one full squad. Okay, 20,000 damage, right? The next drop with another rocket squad, another 20,000 damage. Dude took almost 3/4 of his fucking hit points just from 2 fucking rocket squads. So I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know about the AA on that boat, but the guns are fantastic, and it's a Colorado, basically a Colorado at tier 6, and it does very, very good.
Yeah, the biggest thing, the biggest determining factor of which battleship to be in is primarily going to be carrier. If there's no aircraft carrier in there, I want to be in a fight. West Virginia. If there's a CV in the game, I want to try to find something with AA. And honestly, I don't even know what has AA because there's just been so many changes.
With the way that it changed previously, I would have said the Baron. The Baron's probably got some of the best AA at tier 6, but it's a Baron. So
bringing it back.
And the Baron's guns are kind of shitty because it's German. Like anything previous from tier 6 and below, they're probably some of the best at the tier. But when they start hitting tier 6, then you start seeing the German accuracy fuck up. And tier 7 gets worse, and then 8's a joke, and 9's a joke, and then 10 with the 12 guns, it's manageable. But either way, that's besides the point. But my top picks are Arizona, Fuso, and Baron. And then what do you got for your top pick?
I have to go with
West Virginia, you said.
West Virginia and Warspite.
West Virginia Warspite. Good choices.
Does the Queen Elizabeth still have good AA? Does anyone know?
I'm not sure.
Because
I
if
never
that's
played
the
it.
case, then I'll definitely take a Queen Elizabeth. I think it's a really, really good tier 6 battleship, and people just underestimate it.
Yeah. And then my sleeper pick is the Dunkirk Hugh, man. I love that fucking boat, dude.
Mm-hmm. I hated the Dunkirk for the longest time, but then I figured out it's not a battleship; it's just a cruiser. So
Yeah.
you just have to play it properly.
You bow up. Did you ever get that black camo for it with the French stripes on it?
Not 100% sure. Probably.
Well, there's a really good. It's blue in the front, white in the middle, and then red in the back. And if you angle that blue toward the enemy, then they'll be hard pressed to really overmatch you, and except for those 406s from the West Virginia. That's about the only thing that's going to do damage to you there. You might take a little bit, a couple of 3,000 or 4,000 damage chunks, but nothing spectacular. Then if you turn into the white, you're going to take a little bit more damage, and of course if you turn into the red and angle that red to them, then you're probably going to die. So red, you're dead. So I really like the Dunkirk Q. It's a good HE spammer, 35% fire chance on the HE, and if you can get a really good broadside on somebody, except for the Baron. The Baron, you have to aim high on the Baron, but you're pretty much going to chunk the shit out of everybody that you face. And it does very good. 13 and a half inch guns or 13-inch guns, something like that, something small. They do pretty well with against cruisers as well.
Yeah, that's the Baron's what made me hate the Dunkirk. I had story time, but I fought a Byron with a Dunkirk at like 9 kilometers. I was perfectly angled. He just stopped broadside and just out traded me until I died. I was like, oh, okay, not sure what I do here, but yeah.
Yeah.
But then I figured out the strength. I like it. I think it'll be sleeper.
I think a lot of people with the French boats, they tend to sit like the John Bart, the Richelieu, and the Dunkirk. They tend to sit bow in all the time. And that's like the worst thing that you can do. You got to stay mobile with those boats. And I think the Dunkirk, if you can be mobile and just continue to move and mitigate whatever damage that's coming in, you're formidable as shit on a push toward the end, man.
Oh yeah, it's all about a lot of people, and you can't actually stop, sit, bow in with it. You just got to make sure you're doing it in such a way that you're not going to be taking damage. Or have an island that you can use for hard cover.
This is true.
But a lot of people they'll just walk up 15 kilometers, stop, press W to 25 kilometers, or press S. Just slowly back out.
Just slowly back away. I think. Well, the thing about the Dunkirk is it takes bow on damage directly. You just flat pin the shit out of the bow. But this is where the off bow tanking, the off bow. This is where I've kind of learned. So I really enjoyed that one. I'm just glad it's not tier 7 and I have to see them Lions and people touting on how good the fucking Lion is at tier 7 when it's a terrible fucking boat.
That's another one.
But that's tier 7 though.
I see a decent amount of Normandy.
Normandy?
I just reground it and I thought it was a fantastic boat going through it. The only problem is no AA. So if you got CVs, you're gonna.
I think there's more than just AA problem with that boat. It's not. You can't push in that thing.
I found it's a lot like the Dunkirk cruiser hype, because it's very fast.
And and it's maneuverable too. It does bend. They turn pretty quick.
Yeah, and you have one more gun than the Dunkirk, so it'll play a different kind of way. But I think it's something you could definitely find success with.
Yeah, well, good players. The good players are going to be able to play whatever, and make it fucking work. So that's the way.
I'm gonna rank out in Huang He here. Let's go.
Yo, that's actually it's a decent boat, but it's got AA on it. So I mean, it's supposed to have decent AA. It comes with a button.
Depends. Well, the button we already talked about.
We already talked about the button. The button doesn't matter. But Wang He is also a good choice. But either way, there you go. There's our picks for carriers. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Any one of them's gonna be fine. I think
obviously the British one will be the weakest.
Yes, I think the one that's probably going to be the strongest would be the Ryujo with its AP bombs, being able to jump in and drop on these lightly armored cruisers, and citadel them like we did in the tier 10 with the hack, dropping in and citadeling demonies that are sitting behind islands. It's somebody who's very proficient at slingshotting will have no problem just dominating games in this.
I could play CVs, but I don't know how people do it. It's too much for me.
All right,
What
so
about
I'll tell you this right now. For $200, I'll rank out in the CV.
hmm.
There you go.
Well, for 500, I'll
That
shave my head. Nobody's done that yet.
well, I ain't shaved my head anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Uh, I'm
Shave your beard.
I'm getting a question from from the chat that pertains to what we're talking about here. What about the Mutsu? The Mutsu's good luck getting hits. That's the only thing I can say on that one. It's too inconsistent.
Doesn't have the armor, which is weird to say when I'm talking about ships like Warspite and West Virginia, which also don't have armor. But the problem with the Mutsu is that its citadel protection is far too weak, along with its plating. Whereas with those ships that I just mentioned, you're not likely to get citadel. Where with the Mutsu, if you go broadside, you are going to get dev struck. It just happens. That boat has the novelty torp or torps, which I kind of find funny.
They are funny.
Um,
They could be surprising because you don't see a whole lot of Mutsus playing at tier 6. So I
you don't like fighting a Bismarck with a Matsu, that's why.
yeah. Well, there you go. I find it interesting. I wonder how many people are going to get. Oh my God! What the fuck, you hacker man! You're not supposed to have torps. I'm waiting on that. Ismail's going to be a good boat as well. I think.
It'll be a lot
Yo,
like
yo. All
yours
right.
on
Let me just go ahead and blanket statement this. Let me go ahead and blanket statement. Anything at tier 6 is fine to play. Like literally anything at tier 6 is fine to play, except the fucking except for the goddamn Graf Spay. That's why I want somebody to do it because that boat is just too. It's weird. It's weird, and it's going to take somebody fucking fantastic and have a lot of patience to go with that accuracy on those fucking 6 guns that you got, 11 inches.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna find any tier 6 battleship you. Um, just keep in mind there's a golden rule. If you're in a Queen Elizabeth, your primary ammo type is actually AP, not AG. I've seen that come up a lot. And the only thing that's really going to just be a total hunk of garbage, Bryn's Idle Friedrich.
Yeah,
Other
that
than
thing's
that,
just.
any tier 6 battleship
Thing's
will
terrible.
give you.
Queen Elizabeth has an AA rating of 67, so that's pretty decent for tier 6.
That's still pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember
how
back before the re.
it's pretty good
that was
on the
boat I
paper,
used.
but how is it actually good during an actual game? That's another story.
Yep.
And we won't know that until we actually go fucking play it. But either way, I'm gonna stick with the probably T61, and I'll probably try to pull somebody from the chat and play. You know, they'll probably play Battleship, and I'll probably play DD or something like that, or vice versa, whatever. It's kind of my idea behind what's going on. All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and go into our big topic here, man. The fucking Italians, man. You been playing any of these?
Just two of them really.
You're playing the 10, the 210s.
I've been playing the 10s, and I played the 203 tier.
That is the Genova.
Uh, yeah.
That's
I don't
meatball
remember the
number
name.
tier
It's-
5 premium.
Yeah.
There you go. Meatball tier 5 premium. The Genova. That thing sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that thing's a piece of shit right now. It's got 203s on it, and they're nice, but they reload like fuck 20 goddamn seconds at tier 5, and the range is only 13.1 kilometers, and it's not boostable any other way. Now you're talking 0.2 lower than the Atlanta at tier 7, with bigger ass guns. And I think that the punishment for having 203s is a little bit too severe.
Yeah. Well, I think the punishment for having sap too severe. Most of that.
I say that again. You broke up there.
I think the punishment for having sap too severe. Most of the line.
Yeah. I don't know. Overall, let me give you my overall assessment of the Italians here. Or well, you know what? Fuck that. Let me get your overall assessment of these, and I'll give you mine after.
So I, just speaking for somebody who's only played the Venezia and Amelia, the Venezia is a ship that at first you think is good, and the more and more you play, the more you realize that it's not a tier 10 cruiser. It's fun to play. It has some very nice things going, but it doesn't. It's not a tier 10. The damage output is not enough to compare it to a tier 10 cruiser, and my impact on games is really only nuking a destroyer. So I'd just like to see some changes to how the interacts with DDs and other classes, especially with those boats, to give it a bit better balance.
I think these boats I've played the Vencia, the Palo Emilio, the DD, the Monte Cuccoli, the Tier 9 one, whatever the fuck that's called, and the Genova.
Already, I think.
The Brinzin ZV. I don't know. I didn't write it down. I just wrote Tier 9. So that's what I wrote down. And out of all these boats, the Vencia was probably the best out of them all. Obviously because it's Tier 10. The Tier 9 one did really well for me in the couple of games, or the 5 games that I played it yesterday. Did very well for me. And there's a couple of times where I fucked up and 8 torps in the first 3 minutes of the game that I didn't know that were coming. But that that's user error.
I think they don't want the sap to be too overpowered against lower tier ships cruisers, but other tier 10 cruisers are pretty broken against their own tier ship, know. And looking down the line, it's just getting.
I'm seeing some interesting results on these things. You read the forums, you read the community contributor Discord, and people are saying that they're citadeling Kremls, they're citadeling Kremlins, and they're citadeling all kinds of range, all kinds of things, and I'm like, I don't see it, man, because I'm literally 7-8 kilometers from a fucking Minotaur, and all I can do is get overpins. Or not, there's no overpins, but it's just base damage.
I've gotten the Citadels too that they're talking about, but it's not a consistent Citadel. So it's more of one of those ones where it's just like, I don't know how I did it, and I can't replicate that kind of Citadel, sort of thing. Except for the Des Moines, apparently people have been able to replicate that Citadel because the sap works like AP actually, and when it hits the water, it keeps going for a little bit, unlike HE.
Right.
So that's how those Citadels happen. Like I've Citadel the St. Louis before, and I just like, whatever. I can't explain it.
I was dropping Citadels into a Kuma in the Monte Cuccoli last night from like 15 kilometers.
Kuma's got no armor.
And I'm like, this is 15 kilometers. I think that one of the issues that I have with this are the actual guns, the shell speed. They come out like a bat out of hell at like 1,000 meters per second or whatever, and then they just kind of float down to the target. It doesn't feel like they have much punch when they get to the target. They go up, and they go out, and then they just kind of fucking sprinkle fairy dust on these guys with shots, and it's kind of a weird feeling. And under 10 kilometers, it's fine. But over 10 kilometers, they get really fucking loopy. Like, loopier than normal. Like, some of the loopiest guns in the game aren't this loopy. Or don't have this over and then straight down trajectory. It's really weird.
It's Italian shell drag. If you played the Ducas, the Acosta, and the Abruzzi, those don't have sap. Those have the regular HE. And you're right, it starts off really fast. And then by the time you're at 12 kilometers, you just watch the shells drop like a USNDD. And it's my biggest... one of the things I really don't like about Italian ships is that for some reason they just have insane levels of shell drag. It's the primary reason why a lot of us aren't liking the Palo Emilio, is because, you have these really good guns, and you have everything to make a good ship, except the shell velocity.
The shell,
just dies on you. You gotta go touch the moon before you can actually, get your shells to damage the enemy.
I think they said it was something like 15% difference from the same size guns from the different countries. It was like one of them was like 0.35 or some shit like that shell drag, and one was like 0.46. Where you got the heavier shell drag from the Italians than you do some of the others, and it was, I don't know the exact numbers. I'm just trying to recall something that Little White Mouse had said, but either way, let's talk about the Palo. Now, I played 10, 12 games in this thing, and I kind of like this boat. I really think it's a one-trick pony. Go in, shit on TDs, and then just kind of pray that you can hit things. You guys can attest to this. I 3-shot a 15,000 hit point gearing with 3,000 hit points. 3-shot him. Boom, boom, boom. He was dead.
I had a gearing that was full HP, didn't understand or respect what I was, stopped 6 kilometers away from me, just tried to trade damage with me, and I 3-shot him. And that's the power of this boat that is locked behind such an unpassable wall I've only been able to do that once. I've never been
Yeah.
able to round a corner and actually kill anything else with that ship. The damage output on the guns is nice. The DPM on them is actually very high, and because your pen is so high, you're typically getting that damage out. The problem is hitting the targets that you need to hit.
Right. Now you talk about DPM. It starts out at 7 seconds flat, and then you with BFT and the gun mod, main gun mod, whatever it is on the last slot, you can get it down to 5.5 seconds, which is pretty reasonable. It's not terrible. Downsides on this boat: really slow bullshit torps that do nothing. Just think low yang, and this is the kind of damage that I'm talking about. Low yang damage, hitting an Amagi for $5,000 on torpedoes. They're kind of shitty. I don't like them, and they're slow, and they do go a long way, but they're slow as hell, and they do no damage. So you are basically a gunboat. 7.1 kilometer detectability, maxed out.
Yeah, the torps they're there, but they're so useless that I just widespread throw them out because I was just like, well, whatever. If I get a hit, I get an extra 5K, something.
Yeah.
Typically, what I use them for is just try to get some form of map control out. I think they're really a torpedo that could deal with just being
just area deniability number
the
one.
Venezia's torpedoes.
Yeah.
Just give it to the Apollo, and I think that's fine. It's not going to be overpowered, in my opinion. If it's
Agreed.
too much, just reduce the reload.
The
reload's really nice. You could actually run a build on that boat. I think
71-second reload on those at tier 10 torpedoes. They're not bad. I mean, they just don't do any damage when you hit. Some of the for example, the Z52. You kind of have to hit 3 torps on a DD to kill them.
All right.
Pretty much. You have to hit 3 torps. 2 if you're lucky and they're flat broadside, and then you can get away with it in 2. I know during this last rank season, it was tier 9. I had to hit 3 torpedoes on a Kitakaze to kill him. That was sitting in smoke broadside. So this is the same kind of weak torps, but they reload quick, but they're slow. I mean, so the German torps end up being better than than
the
these
German
things
ones are much better. Yeah, you have a little bit of longer reload. I have 19 seconds, but they hit a little bit more damage, but they're so much the hits.
So much faster.
Torps. Yeah. I mean, look at the Z52. You're looking at, 69 knots compared to 51 knots? Your torps actually have somewhere to go.
Man, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. That's about all I can say about that.
I mean, the boat's not a torp. I understand. It's a gun, but you can't have a gunboat without guns,
Yeah, well, I mean, you can have it. I mean, this is the problem. This is the same problem that I have with something like the Fletcher or the Benson, which I've played the Fletcher and I've played the Benson. I think the Fletcher now in this day and age is a little bit overrated, and people tout on it a little bit too much because it just can't perform against a Kitakaze. It can't perform against the Jutland, and the gearing can kind of perform against everything at its tier, but the Benson and the Fletcher have been power crept so hard that they're not as good as they used to be. They're still strong, but I would rather have 2 guns thrown out there than just the one that are loopy as fuck and anything over 6 kilometers. Good luck trying to hit that. Same thing with the Sims at tier 7. I have problems with the single gun loops. I know I do. I know some people are like, that's fine. Whatever, I don't care. But I have problems hitting with these things, and over 6 kilometers, over 7 kilometers in the Apollo, I still feel the same way. I just can't hit shit. Or at least I'm not hitting enough to be effective.
Yeah, the only thing I can hit at range with the Apollo is typically bigger ships. For the Fletcher, you got to remember it does have some torpedoes at its tier, so it does have to pay for that somehow. Its guns aren't bad, but you're right. Jutland is going to be a better platform. While the reload on the Jutland is now much slower than that of the Fletcher, you're looking at the better smoke, and it just has heel hydro, so it's just a better ship at fighting destroyers. The Kitakaze is blatantly overpowered. I don't know why it hasn't been addressed yet. I don't know why the Hiromo, Kitakaze, Akazuki still haven't been addressed this far afterwards, but if they haven't done so by now.
Well, if they haven't done so by now, until the spreadsheet says it's too strong, They won't do anything about it, which we well know they won't do a damn thing about it
Yeah,
until the spreadsheet says it's wrong. I mean,
and
you
then they'll
know,
yu yang
you've
it.
got
So
yeah. Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. They've got the Harry Gumbo out. They've got the Kitakaze out. They got the Daring out there, and then they nerfed the Yu Yang for some unknown reason.
the Wooster existed when the yu yang got nerfed. I still say that the yu yang was completely unjustified, but whatever.
The Yu Yang was justified.
The yu yang was unjustified.
Unjustified. I
No,
agree. I agree with you.
and in fact, the gearing buff was unjustified in my opinion. But now that they buffed the gearing, you have and just looking at tier 10 destroyers, a lot very very good destroyers right now to choose from.
You
And
know,
two just pieces of crap, you know.
you know what I'm sitting here thinking about, man. They nerfed the Yu Yang, and then they buffed the gearing pretty much to the spot where where the Yu Yang was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't you just bring it up? Lower, for fuck's sakes, will they lower the goddamn gearing in the fucking water? For Christ's sake, it's been there. It's
Fix the
been that
model.
shit. Like, fix the fucking model. It's been 5 goddamn years since this game's come out, and they still can't fix the fucking model. Fix it. That would have solved a whole lot of other problems that the thing had. Maybe you wouldn't have got smacked for 20K from 14 kilometers from battleships, which caused a whole another slew of fucking podcast day. That's a whole nother podcast in general with just the AP versus destroyers. But
That was actually our podcast, the first one we went over.
was it?
That.
Was it? Was it?
Yep,
Man, I still
yeah.
feel the same way, man. I still feel the same way.
I still like the change. Yeah, I'm still a fan of the change, but the gearing model is one that's just been messed up here. I remember because that was a Reddit a long time. Reddit posted about the Iowa, Missouri, and Montana Citadel, and then they were like, "We'll fix it," and then they did, and then
Yeah.
it's like, "Can you guys fix the gearing too?" Yeah, and then they never did.
They've never fixed it yet. I mean, if you lower that in the water, what does that do for the boat? It makes it less
makes it
vulnerable. It makes it very strong, and it puts it up there in the top echelon. The legendary.
I'd say it's already in the top echelon.
Well,
of the-
I mean, it puts it higher in that top echelon.
Yeah.
I mean, the gearing is still a fantastic boat, strictly for that legendary mod. That 5.6, 5.5, 5.6 kilometer detectability is fucking phenomenal. Now, before 5.8, 5.9, it's still manageable, but
I don't like legendary on it, but I understand that it can be, right situations. I prefer to just keep my guns whole. I don't want to nerf them.
yeah.
But yeah.
But getting back to the Italians. The Italians, Vinzia. I played a couple of games in the Vinzia. Was very surprised at some of the damage, but these things are fucking squishy.
I found the Venezia properly armored. The issue is just 30 millimeter overmatch will hurt you, but it's nice because I haven't been citadeled when I shouldn't be in that boat yet. If I'm angling properly, I haven't found myself to just get smacked around by a battleship for no reason.
I agree. I agree. I feel the same way. I don't feel like I've been citadeled unjustly. Like if you get hit in the smokestack in the Omaha, you're probably taking a citadel. So that's kind of the unjust citadels. You're like, how the fuck you actually have to shoot these things to get them? But I do find that when they do take the damage, they take quite a bit.
No, if that thing is broadside, it will and can be nuked, and I'm okay with that. It should be.
Yeah, it's a cruiser. You should be paid for your mistakes. Here's the only thing. This thing is a strictly long range thing. You cannot push in this thing.
I'd say
say that again.
it depends on how you're pushing. If you're rounding someone, yeah, it's really good at that. If you're trying to push from like 12 kilometers away, you're gonna have a bad time.
I had a John Bart yesterday from like 6 kilometers citadel me on this one gun for 20,000 damage. Probably got 2 citadels on me for 20 grand, and then turned around with the other one, did another 7K to me, and we're 6 kilometers, and I was at a pretty fucking decent angle, and just bam, I was dead, and I was like, holy shit, dude. But then the very next game, I rush in on some other guys and take absolutely no fucking damage. It was pretty interesting. They don't have the turtleback like the Hindenburger, so it kind of gonna dissuade people from pushing. So I think that these are medium to long range players only. They also turn extremely fucking well with the rudder shift mod. Just single rudder shift mod in that slot instead of
I like
engine
how
boost.
fast they turn. I don't like how long it takes to start working. But on the other hand, though, once they start turning, because you got that high turn, that's really nice for it.
Yeah, I do like all the Italians. The Abruzzi does okay with its turns. What's the other one? Baba Abruzzi and the Baba da Costa. They turn okay. The fucking Julius Caesar turns on a dime. That thing is nasty when it's getting going, and these have that same.
Battleship?
Oh yeah, the Julius Caesar turns great, man. So these other ones also turn pretty well. I was literally from 6 kilometers out, flat broadside. I made a turn in on a set of Yugamo torpedoes, just straight through and right in between these torps, and it was very, very close. I have to go back and clip it and show it to you later. But
Overall, the maneuverability of the Venetia, I very much enjoy. And it really makes it. That's the fun factor of the boat, is you have a cruiser that responds to you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have like horrible gun arcs or anything like that.
No, the gun arcs are pretty steady.
So you're actually getting to use those guns and being able to use your ship to. The only bad arc on it, I'd say, is the reverse torpedo arcs. That's about it.
Meh. Well, I mean, it's fine. You're not going to use those very often anyway for any kind of.
You just throw them out.
Yeah, you'll just fire and forget it torps like the Yoshino 20s and stuff. They're just kind of drop them. Okay, I'm going that direction. Maybe somebody will run into it. So overall, man, I think that the Italians are fine currently. I think that they do a little bit too much damage to DDs. They don't do enough damage to. They don't do enough damage to. They do damage to broadsides. They don't do very good against any kind of angles. So you're basically playing. It's another 15-inch gun mechanic, where any angle you're not doing much, but if you get broadside, you can do everything. So that's always something that you're going to be looking forward to. No fire, so it's all on you. These are high skill floor boats, I believe, because you don't get that extra chance for fires, because some idiot can go out in a Zao and drop 19 fires and have 120, 200,000 fucking damage, and he, maybe he dodged some shots. But these things is all you. It's all on you. It's not on. There's no extra shit, so you have to have good aim. So high skill floor, I think. And but overall, they're just kind of meh. I think
that's
they're.
what I meant. On the meh factor. That's what I meant by it doesn't feel tier 10 yet because of the damage output. The damage versus destroyers is too much. I think the 10% damage cap was too little. And I think the damage cap should be put on, or the alpha needs to be lowered. But
the alpha on
DDs, it doesn't.
Hey, you're cutting out. Say that bit again.
The damage is too much on destroyers. You're right.
Yeah.
And a damage cap should be re-added to them. I think maybe start with 20%, see where that puts us. 10% was too low, but let's just figure out a good balance. Because right now with my Venezia, I'm typically shooting a DD 12K, and that's a bit punishing for no reason. Especially a lot of the time the DD isn't doing wrong. It's just two DDs meet in the middle, they spot each other, and I just take a shot, and I get stupidly rewarded for it.
Yeah.
There was a Benson once where he had 15K stock, right? I almost one-shot him from full, and that's
insane. That's a little bit too much. I was shooting at a trash can last night, and first volley 5K, second volley 7K, third volley he was dead. For another 6K, but I'd been pecking at him. No, in the tier 9. The tier 9. I don't know what it's fucking called. Yeah. Britney Spears. Either way.
The Britney Spears.
There you go. We have deemed it the Britney Spears is the tier 9 Italian. That was an interesting thing, and I know the guy was coming in. He'd been pecking at me the entire game, but I was busy shooting other things. And finally, he came within 10 kilometers. And I was able to range him in. And holy shit, dude! Did he make a mistake? And he immediately was like, oops. And well, anyway, he was dead, and then I was able to, focus on other things. We lost the game, but that's not the point. I shit on that guy, and it made me feel really good about myself, like I was doing something. You're fading out, man. Are you turning into Yoda here?
I'm trying to fix something. Just keep going.
We got to use the force, Luke. Some some kind of something going on. Yeah, but I mean, they're okay. I mean, they're just. I mean, they're not the best. They're nothing special. They're nothing super spectacular. They're nothing like something like the Smolinks that's like, oh my God, go out and get these. They're like, yeah, they're okay. I mean, there's really nothing overly powerful about these things, other than the DD damage. There's nothing overly terrible about these things, other than the damage on battleships and cruisers, or at least the pin angles on battleships and cruisers. There is no overpin on SAP, so you either pin or you break.
Yes, or bounce.
Or bounce. And but you got 15 guns on the Venzia 203s, decent. You have quite a bit of guns on the Tier 9. You only the Monte Cuccoli at Tier 5 has 152s, which just feel kind of, and you only get 8 guns. And so
what's the reload on that boat? 15, I think.
And it's 15, 17, something like that. And then the Genova's got 203s, and that's just a boat. That's just a terrible thing.
I think the Alpha onset could definitely do with a reduction just to bring the reload down. It'd make them more comfortable to play.
The Alpha damage on SAP is 5,800 on 52. The tier. No, 5,800 on the Tier 9, and then 52 on the AP. 5,200 on the AP.
It's 4,800 on the AP. That's why the AP is
on Tier 9.
And the 10. The 10 and the 9 should have the same damage.
Now I gotta go. Now I'm gonna have to go look that up later. I'm gonna have to go look that up later because
4,800 on the AP.
Because
so the reason why
I remember seeing 5,800 and 5,200.
And well, the reason again, there's never a use AP.
Are you? Man, you do you have like a noise gate on your mic? Because you keep cutting out. I guess when you lean back, you keep cutting out. But anyway, continue. Finish up what you said.
Let me check. I don't remember. Yeah, I do. Let me open it. Okay, it should be open now. I was just gonna say that
the damage.
Oh God, where'd you? You just
the SAP damage versus the Alpha damage.
Yeah, the damage for AP lower than SAP, so you only ever use. So they're really just locked into being SAP spammers, and the reason, and it just, I don't know. I'd like to see more diversity in playstyle other than just always shoot the same ammo type at these guys, because it does get old real quick.
It definitely gets old. And you kind of feel it. You kind of feel it too. Now, the smarter player is going to switch over to AP to guarantee those, or at least to have that option for consistent citadels on the broadside of things, which I've done. I swapped over into Venzia and put 7 citadels into the side of somebody, and it did a lot of damage. The next game on the same boat, I stayed on SAP, and I didn't really feel like I was doing anything special to the guy on the flat broadside. It was consistent damage, and I guess that's good. But there's not that potential for the holy shit. I just knocked the shit out of this guy. It's just okay. Here's some average damage. Here's some consistency in your damage, and go have fun.
Are you talking like in terms of shooting a battle?
I'm talking about in terms of shooting cruisers broadside and the differences between AP and getting those 6 citadels versus getting 12,000 damage and no citadels. Like I still think there's a place for it, and I know a lot of the super purple unicorn players out there are going to be like, there's no reason to be AP because this is more efficient. And I'm like, fuck that. I want to knock that motherfucker out. Even if I overpin AP 9 times or whatever, I still want to knock that son of a bitch out. And I think AP has a place.
No, if you can Citadel, AP is always the way to go. But if you can't Citadel, there's...
Yeah, if you can't Citadel, there's no reason. I tend to agree, but So like when you're on broadside battleships, there's no reason to be on AP because you're
No.
not going to citadel these guys anyway. So stay on the SAP. But like you go broadside with a cruiser, absolutely 100% switch over to the AP to get those citadels, or at least the potential for the citadels, and then
And
then back
and
to SAP when they go to angles.
yeah. And it depends a lot because I found that the damage is
Yeah.
typically consistent. And I haven't found it to be too overpowered just because your dispersion is taking in to account, so you'll miss more shells. You typically get like one really good alpha strike on a ship with the SAP, and then after that, damage reduction or saturation kicks in pretty hard because you're not able to do citadel damage. So or stuff like that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, does the damage saturation? How does the SAP affect damage saturation? Is it normal damage saturation? Like if
I
you
think it's just like pen damage
just regular damage,
to the
and
section
and
like HE would do.
how much of that is repairable? How much of
Should
SAP
be
damage is repairable?
normal heals would be 50%. And of course, it depends on your heal. Like for Conqueror, it's what 65, 75%, and so it just depends on the heal you're rocking. But it's just gonna be this. I mean, AP pens are the same way, unless it's an AP Citadel.
Man, but you can't heal up AP damage, can you?
You can heal penetrations. You can't heal Citadel damage. So Citadel damage is torpedo that hits your bulge, any shell that obviously goes into your Citadel. Everything else is always a penetration if it damages you, and in that case, you can heal up to 50% of it. The exception is fires and flooding, which you can always heal 100% of, provided you have a heal.
Right. So there you go. Not a, not terrible. Not terrible. I think the going back to the Apollo. I think the Apollo is pretty fantastic as a partner DD, as a second tier DD.
Yep.
It reminds me a lot of the Udaloy, whereas the Udaloy does very well when paired with another DD.
I think if they reduce the shell drug, it's probably a really solid tier 10.
Yeah.
It could probably be released that way.
I think Vinzi is pretty decent. I'm not sure what to do with that one. What do
I'd
you
probably
think?
just reduce the reload, maybe like 18 base.
All right, and then the Genova, that thing just needs to. I don't know. It needs more
What is it?
range.
That's
It
the
needs better
220.
reloads. Yeah.
If you're gonna keep the reload the same, you have to give it range, or if you're gonna keep the range the same, you gotta give it better reload.
Yeah. Same thing. Pretty much. That's pretty much down the line from what I've played so far. Even the tier 9, I mean, like, it's very hard to get in and out of places when you reload like a fucking Scharnhorst or you reload like a goddamn battleship. Like this really has the feel of the furry taco. You know, it's got the really long reloads, but decent power, decently good damage. That's kind of the way that these boats make me feel. That like the entire tier is all a whole bunch of furry tacos.
Yeah. Yeah, probably without the tankiness though. Furry is just so tanky.
I love the furry taco.
Yeah, but what is it? 6 guns on the furry taco with 15.
Mm-hmm.
On the other one with a 20-second reload. So I understand the reload being as poor as it is,
Mm-hmm.
but the Furutaka has that tankiness factor that boat doesn't have.
True.
Not nearly the same. So your damage output is similar, but you have the ability to tank with it. It's like, what's the British one with 203s? That boat has a heal, so it has
The Exeter.
The Exeter, yeah. It has some version of being able to use those two, more than just the 3 times as you push in and die. Whereas the Furutaka can just sit there angled and just shoot, not really take damage.
Nah, anything else special about the Italians you want to talk about? I know the torpedo arcs are pretty decent. They're relatively.
Torpedo arcs are great and they're really nice for pushing. The only thing I'd rather talk about would be their smoke consumer.
Yeah, that I was waiting for the end of it. Waiting for the end of the Italian conversation. I have fucked myself over in this goddamn smoke because the firing, the spotting range is 10 kilometers when you're in your smoke.
Yeah.
It's like nine.
If
It's like
you
9 and change, but it's just so stupid, dude. I hit my smoke, and then you can't get out of your smoke. In these British DDs, sometimes you'll hit your smoke to break the line of sight, but you'll get spotted real quick. You'll spot the other guy, fire off a shot, and then you'll the smoke bubble will kick in again, and then you'll fire out. You'll get out of the smoke real quick, and then you'll get another shot off before he can aim at you. And you can't do that in these boats. You can't do that in these boats. This smoke is, you are immediately in smoke, and you are completely in smoke. And if you're shooting, well, you're fucked, because they're going to be able to see you, and you're not going to be able to see them at all.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I understand being a little punishing. But with it only being like 2 or 3, when you compare it to like the Des Moines sitting at 8.7 or the Zhao at 7.7, I think. So, I really like the smoke, because it allows me to play differently. I can comfortably walk around an island knowing that there's a battleship like 5 kilometers away. Not something I'd want to cruiser, but if I'm in this boat, I can just take that turn, and then instead of shooting him, I just smoke him right after.
Yeah.
It allows me to, when I'm pushing flank, say, I'm, instead of sitting like 16 kilometers away, I'll just push up to 13, 12 right behind a DD. Even though I know I'll get spotted, but the second I start getting focused, I'll just turn back in a bit, smoke, and then just turn out and get away.
Yeah.
So it allows you to position in more,
Position or
I wouldn't say
reposition.
vulnerable ways, but allows you to position in more active ways.
Logical
So it allows
ways,
you
honestly.
yeah, it allows you to be more aggressive, is what I like about it.
I like it as well. I like it as well.
It does have that get out of jail free effect, but you got to just make sure you know when you're shooting, so
Yeah.
and when you're gonna smoke. So you have to think ahead with that. And I like it because it's not just a, oh no, I'm in danger, press T to survive. It's like, am I gonna get spotted? Do I need to smoke? Is this something that's actually gonna help me here? Or is this just gonna be a detriment? So
I've actually used this as relatively aggressive coming around corners on battleships. Probably not the smartest thing I could have done. But I've also gotten myself into trouble. Oh shit, there's a battleship there. I have a fucking Minotaur sitting right here, and I have shots on him, but guess what? I have popped my smoke on accident, or I've done it on purpose, and now I can't shoot the guy, and if I do, then I'm just going to die anyway, because he'll just melt me and I won't be able to see him. That's the kind of forward thinking that you're having to do, which I'm slow at picking it up. But I am picking it up, and I do see medium range, long range, where this is very beneficial. So you can reposition, just kind of abandon whatever you're doing, and get out, get out of harm's way. The smoke doesn't last a very long time; it's only like 40 seconds. But without taking IFHE and DE, you can take that fucking Rasta smoke puff. I mean, I've taken like 4 level 2 skills here in this boat. There's no,
that
take
that's one thing.
RPF is very viable here on this boat now that you have those points freed up. Concealment expert, I've taken superintendent, and the rest of them are tier 2 skills.
Yeah, I found the same. Without needing stuff like that, IFHE or anything, the cruisers are much free on what they want to build with their captains. So yeah, I think my build has like expert marksman per target, a whole bunch of tier 1s, and then a whole bunch of tier 2s, then the tier 3 and tier 4. Because I found myself having so many points I didn't need to do with.
Yeah, you got 7. Basically, you have 7 points freed up for things that you wouldn't normally have. So it's BFT, AFT, last stand, it's superintendent concealment. Then you can, if you wanted to go RPF, then that leaves you 3 points to do. But you take last stand if you wanted to. You could take adrenaline rush is mandatory here. Take expert marksman, I believe that's mandatory as well with the slow.
Adrenaline rush is
take the
kind of become a skill you should just pretty much always have.
The Rasta puff smoke, and then preventative maintenance is a good choice here. Jack of all trades is another good choice here. Even if you're going to play this long range, which generally is what most people do, fucking put on the goddamn incoming fire alert. If people are going to be shooting at you from long range, dude, start your here comes that red mark. Start turning. Just hit the brakes, turn in, whatever. Just to throw off those shots. And anything that you can do to have an advantage on these boats, I would highly recommend taking, because you got the extra points.
Just don't run target acquisition. Yes. on anything.
I when RPF fucking RPF Yamatos are going to be a thing when subs come out.
I think my favorite thing is running into British Destroyer with target acquisition. I'm like, what?
Why? What's the point? I always find it funny. And they're like, no target acquisition, no camo. They got absolutely nothing going on for them, you know. And they're like, oh, how did you outspot me? I was like, because I have camo on, you dumb shit. Yeah, I got camo. I don't have target acquisition.
Yeah.
Concealment expert. All right, last overalls, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything that we talked about so far today, or what we're gonna get into, we're gonna get into a little bit of the submarine talk and get your opinions on what's coming up. What you think? I know, right? So anything else on the Italians you want to spit out there?
Nah, because we're likely gonna see some balance passes, so. Yeah,
Well, this is literally the very first opportunity we've had to actually get our hands on them. I kind of like them. I kind of see where they're very consistent.
they have potential.
Yeah.
And one thing that is nice about the Italian cruisers when you're fighting them, you don't have to deal with fire spam.
That's right. And I think that's great.
You're not on fire.
I think that's great because you're not going to get set on fire. But that's the downside. Then it becomes all on you, and this is where aiming actually does matter, and being able to lead your shots in. So overall, they're still kind of meh to me, but they're growing on me. The more I play them, the more they grow on me, and I think I enjoy those boats. Overall, like the Atlanta, I sucked so bad in it when I first started playing it, but once I got the feel for it, and it kind of grew on me to be my favorite boat in the game, which is at least the one that I have the most experience on, somewhere around 2.5 million experience just sitting on that boat alone, and then another 1.8 on the Flint. So very comfortable boats once you get the hang of them. All right, so let's move on into before we get into your thoughts on the subs. Did you play this last rank season?
Tier 9, yeah, I did.
How'd it go? Did you rank out? How many games?
I ranked out, I think 132 games. For the first 70, 80 games, I pretty much played whatever I felt like. And then I hit my ranked wall where I was like, okay, I'm done with this season, so I switched to Kitakaze and just plowed through it extremely fast.
Kitakaze was a joke for a lot of people.
What do you mean it was a joke?
I mean, like, it was a joke. It was like easy mode.
Oh, yeah. 100% easy mode.
Jutland, Kitakaze, pretty much easy mode.
Jutland's good. Kitakaze's better in my opinion. But I mean, it's just that the Kitakaze you're too strong against everything, so you don't really care.
Yeah, it's very strong. My personal choice was the Z46. I love the German DDs. I don't know why they just fit me, and I really like the play style. They're kind of aggressive when they have hydro. When they don't, they're kind of passive. I kind of like the duality there in the gameplay. 94 games is what it took me to rank up. Which is
94?
94. I was so surprised.
Best season ever.
My best season ever. Yeah, my previous best was like the tier 6 rank season. It took me like 170 something games to rank out. But I played one game in the Mogador and won that game, and then that started us off on a 10-game win streak at rank like 4 or some shit. So I went up really quick and ranked out in basically 5 days of actual gameplay.
Yeah, I switched to Kitakaze. I didn't. It's 20 games. It was either a win or I'd lose and keep, and I was just like, whatever. And it's okay. The biggest part of it was that this season didn't have a fun factor.
It was weird. This was probably the weirdest season, and I think a lot of it. Mijash ranked out in 51 games, and he's going to continue to tell everybody about it. So there you go. And I'm fine with that because I love Mijash, and he said this season was probably the fastest. It's the fastest season that he's ever done as well at 51 games. But we also started at tier 10. We're ranked 10. All we had to do, we were two wins and we were at rank 9, as opposed to where we start at rank 13 normally. That potentially could make or break 10 or 20 games getting from 13 to 10. but we started at 10, so we were already in that higher bracket to begin with. So we didn't have to deal with some of the the lower, the people that started at 18 or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, once you get down to the rank 5 bracket and you're waiting on those 5-minute queues, the game, when in a 6v6 situation, you have 4 to 5 good players on every team.
Yeah.
Who know what they're doing, who don't throw their ship away.
Yeah.
And then and sprinkled in there are 2 peoples in the game are just horrendous.
Yeah.
And they're typically both on the same team. They
Yep.
typically both die, and it's just a wash game at that point.
Yeah.
That happened to me a lot of the time. That's what made the season just fun for me.
Yeah.
That's why I just said, screw it, Kitakaze, I'm done.
Yeah.
Just because it was just, I got fed up with it.
I totally agree. There's this big rumblings, and which overall I thought, all right, I got something to say about this, but that'll lead us into a whole nother topic. But overall, I thought this was a pretty just a kind of mint season. I played the first 2 days, hit rank 5. Then I took a week off, played 2 more days, and I was done. Wasn't really any fancy. I didn't really get ragey at all. I didn't have to rage at anybody. I didn't lose any karma this season, surprisingly enough.
I prefer the Venom Rage when you ban. That's more fun for me.
I've done that a few times.
Yeah, I think the biggest factor why this tier 9 didn't work for me when compared to Arms Race is just because the Arms Race worked for me because a bad ship could become good with a buff, whereas in this season, a bad ship could never become good.
Yeah.
And the overpowered ships always were overpowered.
Agreed.
There was nothing that could miss them.
Right.
Anything else. And that's why it became World of Destroyer, because tier 9 destroyers are ridiculous and tier 9 cruisers don't have the ability to counter them properly. That's why we saw a lot of Alaska and Kronstadt as far as the cruisers, just because those were somewhat tanky enough to, well, not somewhat, are tanky enough to at least deal with some of the HE spam.
Yeah. I tend to agree. This is something that for the first like on my third day and my third and fourth day that I was playing, and some into the 5th day, it was 5 DDs a game. Period. They were like if you had a game with 3 DDs, you were lucky. When I was playing, and I ranked out on a 4 DD game, and it's just the way it is. And Mogadors were fucking nasty as shit in that game. If people that were playing them and they were playing them right, and they were going to that off cap and they were being quasi aggressive, they absolutely dominated every other DD out there.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I played so much of the Kitakaze towards the end, is just because the Kitakaze dominate another destroyer, but it also could dominate a battleship and a cruiser. So there was it was a very jack of all trades. It was not discriminatory with its damage. You could definitely hurt everything in the Kitakaze, whereas I'm playing a little bit more passive. I'm playing let's go for the points, let's go for the camps, let's play around the camps, let's spot them. If somebody's there, I'm going to try to be aggressive on those guys, but for the most part, it was kind of a mid-range passive season for me. There was a lot of games that, especially being on Trident over there, sitting on that fucking island on the other side and just hydroing and letting the team do the damage that whatever was sitting over there. And if I could get 12,000 damage into two DDs, then I had an advantage coming around that corner eventually, that I knew that I was going to be able to handle these guys later on. So it was a very passive season for me in the Z46, but a very good one. Yeah. Passive would be something I'd definitely describe it.
Yeah.
And just so DD focused that you just kind of find yourself playing the same ship over and over again.
Well, and all the quote unquote good players out there, that's what they recommend. Just play the same boat, whatever you're comfortable in.
Oh no, I would recommend it too. It's if you want to rank out the fastest, just find the boat that you're most comfortable with and that you perform the best in, and just play it over and over again.
Yeah. There's no reason to swap it up.
The problem is that it's just boring, in my opinion, to do. But if you have to do it, you got to do it.
I agree. It does get kind of old, and like if I'm not playing rank season, I don't play the 46. I don't play the 52. I mean, those are my go-to rank boats for those particular tiers. Now it changes up. A little bit when you drop down to tier 6, but it's still German. At tier 6, at T61, but tier 7 was that was a monster season, man. I just don't like any of the DDs at tier 7. I don't like any of them. And so
The
I ended up playing Colorado
the
just to
one
meme it out.
the one positive of this season is you can definitely say it was nowhere near as bad as last.
Why do you think
The
that
tier
is?
10. CVs.
You think it's CVs?
It's the 100% was the aircraft carrier, because the aircraft carrier takes a average or below average player and they just can dumpster anyone that they want to. There's not really any counterplay to.
True.
I could be, me 65% raid overall, and I could just be in a DD in an aircraft carrier, really just not a good player. Like
49% or like
yeah,
30% win rate,
you're looking at a 45%er and comes
but he dumpsters all over you because you
smacks
can't
me.
do anything about it.
Yeah,
I mean that's something to be said, and also the the cruiser ratio at tier 10 is a lot more because they have better tools than the tier 9 one does.
tier 10 cruisers are much stronger.
Their radars are more effective. I say they're more effective because you can get more damage out on them faster. Their damage is better at tier 10 than at tier 9. And there's nothing you can do about radar either.
Right. And another thing was that tier 10 aircraft carriers have so much influence that it really just became, did I get the better CV? That's because it's typically the two same people. Right?
Yeah,
One of them
the two over and over again.
Terrible, and then one of them's really good. So it's just like, is he on my team?
No.
Or
you could get that, that random one that will multi-box. Two different computers, play one account, make sure that their CVs included each other, and then give wins to one side of it. That's we've had that happen in ranked seasons past where one guy is playing the same carrier. He moves his carrier forward on one of them and then just dominates the shit out of the rest of the game with the other guy, and just basically throws his CV away. I don't think that rentals were a big issue this time. I don't think that rentals were a big issue in the past anyway. I didn't really care. I didn't. Well, right. There's no rentals this time, but I didn't really think that rentals were that much of a problem to begin with. I didn't think that they should have been in the game ever, because that is your goal. I want to get to tier 10, so then I can do all of these things. Why am I giving this shit fucking away for free? This is my theories behind rental ships. You have to give people some kind of incentive to want to earn that tier 10. Why give it away? So rentals, that was the only downside I had to rentals. And then people, then that one fucking random Zao guy that I had was like, I was like, what are you doing down here, Zao? I don't know. It's my first game. First ever game in the Zao. I'm just trying it out. And I was like, do that in your holy shit. Get the fuck out of ranked, Like playing your first ever game in a Zao and ranked, and you're going into the cap at like 3 minutes into the game. I'm like, come on, guy. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Rentals, in my opinion, they allowed me on like my alt account to play this season, but it's not like I ranked out. I didn't want to. It's, same two ships over and over again. I got bored. And rentals were typically just a detriment to have. Yeah, you have the exception. The rule was that you don't want the rentals on your team because they're going to be, they're going to hurt your team as compared to if you just had an actual player there most of the time. I remember a Reddit post after the rentals had like an on average 3% rate. Than
a 3% lower win rate?
3 to 5, I think. It was insane for the rentals compared to the actual ship.
Compared to the actual players. Actual players, rental players versus actual players. That kind of gives it a negative connotation. But the rental players versus guys who earned the ships. Now there's always that random citizen soldier 9 just taking out a rental ship just to take out a rental ship. I did see a couple of those people that would rank out in those, but I don't. Most of the majority of the rentals were either a non-factor or they were just terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I guess I said the same thing twice there, but they.
When I played on EU, I did rent.
Say that again.
When I was on EU, I did rent.
Rental
I
what?
taught my team.
I don't know what it is, dude. About your mic, it just cuts out. I did rental.
I don't have a gate on Discord. So.
Uh,
Rental Big Gun Conk
Big
456.
gun conk. And now you know what's
And
dumb.
people would complain about me being in a rental every game.
Yeah.
And every game I would top the team because it's free damage, you know. But
It really is. Talking to a dirty conqueror player, because I ranked out that tier 10 season. I just got tired of playing DDs and having to rely on stupid people. So I finally said, fuck it, I'm playing for my star. And I went 60 some odd games at like a 63% win rate in the big gun, not the big gun conqueror, but just the conqueror period. And finally offset some of that. And I saved about half the games that I lost. So it was pretty easy. Once I got in there, then we went on a big run,
yeah.
and pushed out. But I ranked out. I've ranked out every season since my very first ranked season. So
There is one change I would really like to see ranked.
all right,
I think that if you are within X percentage of number 1 on the losing team, you should also, if you're number 2, because we've all been there. Lose a game by like 50, or lose your star by like 50 XP. You're the only 2 that did anything, and everybody else potato. Right?
Yeah.
So you're getting punished for 4 people on your team just being horrible, and you did really good, but one guy also did really good, so he just beats you.
He beat you by like 3 points.
I've
had it. People lose their star by a point. I've had people win their star by a point. I've lost my star by a point.
I've tied with a guy and lost them. So.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, we've all. I've had draws in the games to where we all lose our star except for the top 2 guys. So that's always frustrating. I think draws. I think draws should be, which rarely happens anyway. Nobody loses a star, but either way, you didn't win, so you don't get to keep a star. So I guess that's their mentality behind that. It's I don't know, man. It's a whole fucking mess of things, which leads me into another topic that I wanted to discuss with you. There's this big group of people everywhere. Oh, we need skill-based matchmaking. Everybody wants some kind of fucking elo system, and like League of Legends has it. And you sit there and you listen to these people in the discords, or you read what they're saying. Can you please do some kind of skill-based matchmaking? And I'm like, no. I mean, like it's unfeasible for this game, or at least any way that I've thought about it. Simply for the fact that there is was watching Dort play his ranked season. And literally everybody on his team was yellow or red, and everybody on the other team was blue or better.
There's I understand skill-based matchmaking in that argument, and I do support of it, but what I would say was don't make any changes to the matchmaker right now. So let's say I queue up in my tier 10 game. The matchmaker goes out, finds 24, and it pulls them all into the game. Now, what it does right now is it kind of just separates them based off of class, but nothing else to do with the players that are there. All I would want is for it to just essentially find out the win rates on the team and make them closer for the average players, for the average of all the players. So that way, not in the ship, just over. So that way, it's not like a lot of the games that we see where, blowouts is just like one team versus 12 potatoes, and it just it's over in 5 minutes. I think it would help a long way to giving us better match quality. I don't necessarily think it's skill based on the fact that I over here as Unicum can only play other units. I don't want that. I can play clan battles if I want to do
here's the thing, and I've talked about this with a couple of other community contributors that's been on the podcast recently, and James was saying that that's fine, you just can't do it for randoms. You have to make a specific game mode that says, hey, 40%ers are going to play 40%ers, 50%ers are going to play 50%ers, 60 is going to play everything and above. You have to separate it from randoms, because randoms have to be random. You have to have those teams that you just absolutely shit on them, and you have to have those ones that you three are the trifecta up on the top of the board with 1,200 and nobody else gets 500. I mean, there has to be that to get the overall spreadsheet balance. So I don't foresee any way or any one stat that they can do other than win rate to do any kind of skill based matchmaking. And how much of that
Um,
60% win rate do you have is actually skill and actually getting on a good team? I mean, there's so much. That everybody wants this, and and nobody will ever agree on one set. PR rating's a joke. Fine,
I'm just my straw hat, my pitchfork,
yeah.
get my PR.
Just I,
Um, yeah, but I think it would go. Well, here's the thing. In my opinion, a blowout game is not fun the majority of the time, no matter what side I'm blowout. I don't like to crush a team in 7 minutes of tier 10. Because typically I'm only doing like, bare minimum damage. It's not fun for me. I just feel like I barely got to participate in the game. Then, furthermore, I don't like getting blown out like that because it's just, it's not fun to just get steamed. And I think we see a lot of that, especially lately with the game, and some form of just like not skill based, but just a half measure to make the matchmaker balance teams better in terms of skills, so we don't get that all the time. That's all I.
mhm.
I don't. I
There
don't
is
want blowouts. I think
the
the
blowouts have been
biggest.
running rampant lately. I mean,
Yes, I
for the
think
past
blowouts
6 months,
be avoided.
for the well, I mean, sometimes they're unavoidable. Sometimes they're unavoidable.
I understand sometimes they're
We had a game.
unavoidable,
We had a game the other day where 3 guys on our team detonated. I mean that happens, and it's just like we're all right. Well, fuck, we're done,
yeah,
and then you lose, and you can't do anything about it. Then we have these games that it's just everybody else is dead, but me and my division, and not that we're the end all be alls, but you notice things like that when everybody else is fucking dead, and you guys pull the game back and win just because we were smart and they were just one reason or another, they threw their boat away, or maybe they got pinched or something. Any whatever excuse here, or insert it whatever excuse here why they died. But there is a lot of that, and I've seen a lot more of that lately in the last probably 6 months than I've ever had before, or at least maybe I'm just not paying attention to it until just now.
Yeah. I don't know what criteria they would have to classify a blowout, but I'm pretty sure there's a spreadsheet of it. And for me, I would want to avoid the blowout as much as possible because I don't need my games to win. I want my games to be fun. I don't find the fun in a blowout. I find fun in games that not necessarily take 20 minutes, but do go down to the wire in terms of how close they can in terms of ships and stuff like that. I find more fun out of them.
I find then go play the EU server because there are a lot of passivity over there on the EU server.
I played EU. You
Yeah.
got the game chat if you want to remain Twitch safe.
It's a very different gameplay from the EU server to the NA server, and I always laugh at people that they're like EU is better than the NA and the NA is better than the EU, and I'm like, I don't give two shits. Don't bring that crap in my chat. When I go over to the EU server, I shit on people and I get shit on. When I play over here, I shit on people and I get shit on. It doesn't matter. It's just a different style of play between the two servers. Very passive, but then when they make a move as a team. Over here, we're overly aggressive at some points, but we have better individual players, I think, than they have better teamwork.
Have you not had your glue for breakfast today?
My glue? No,
Yeah,
I don't know
we
this
all
joke.
wake up and eat.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're fucking number one pasty eaters, sponsored in part by Elmer's.
As somebody who's played tier 10 games. In tier 10, obviously tier 10 games on NA, I know for a fact that there's not a skill difference between the servers. There is a chat difference. I have noticed that completely. They are much less politically correct over there, which in a way is kind of funny.
My kind of place.
Yeah. They'll drop the F word you can't say on Twitch casually, and you're like, whoa, okay.
Don't do that, because that'll get you into trouble. But no, I mean... So I don't know, skill-based matchmaking. I don't think it's feasible and viable in this game. There's no reason for an elo system. If you are going to do an elo system, you have to set it at 0 for everybody. You can't take any existing fucking stat, and then you have to go into ranks. You have to go into a specific game mode. Then you win, you lose, whatever stat that they fucking decide on, and then your elo goes up, and then you play these people within 200 elo points of view, just like they do in
If you do an elo system like that, I wouldn't to play that, because the higher you get in elo, the longer, of course, your match
Yeah,
quality
absolutely.
of your game is just going to become competitive. Where I don't really want to do competitive. I just want to dick around in random battles. So again, I would still, if we do an elo system, say you're 1,000, mine's 500. Matchmaking pulls us in, and then it'll find the other like two players that would equal 1,500. So it's like two 750s on the enemy team, just to try to balance it out.
Yeah.
Something like that is what I would prefer. So you can have like people if we're doing elo 2,000 over here, and their elo on this guy is like 10, and so they got to find something that tries to average it out on the other side, just to try to balance it. I think it would get a better matchmaking quality, but it's something that you really have to see how it would affect the game before you really know how.
I can tell you right now how it's going to fucking affect the game.
I believe they said that they have absolutely zero interest in doing anything better.
Which I'm glad too, because I don't think it has a place in this game. Randoms are randoms, rank season's rank season, clan battles are clan battles, and they're all pretty much separate. Everything feeds back into the random battles because you're gaining experience and moving yourself up to level 10 or to tier 10. That all feeds back into the main purpose of the game. But I really don't see elo matchmaking or skill, quote unquote, skill based matchmaking meaning anything for this game, and I think it's a detriment to this game. Because then you have the people that are really good, they start farming damage, and that's all they do is farm damage. So they lose games just by farming damage. I can't tell you how many fucking times that I've seen people throw games. All he had to do was go in there, but he was worried about his fucking PR rating, and he's like, nope, I'm not going into that camp. Go fucking camp. I need my damage. I need my PR rating. Fuck your PR rating. And those people drive me nuts. And I'm like, honestly, they may be good players and everything, but I really don't want to play with them because they're not playing to win. They're playing for their fucking damage, and it pisses me off.
Well, the higher up I've found that you care about it. For me, at least, I used to care about stats or my stats, and now the only thing I care about is like how am I doing in a day in terms of like am I actually doing good? But I don't like care all anymore.
Man. I used to give a shit about stats. The only one that I care about is my win rate at this point. I just want to win the games. I don't care how they come. If they're blowouts, fine. If they're not blowouts, fine. I just want to win. If I go in there and I detonate in the first 3 minutes and we win the game, then fine. Hey, good luck. I'm very conscious of if I'm playing good or if I'm playing bad. I want to feel like I'm playing good. But more often than not lately, it's I feel like I'm playing good, but the teams aren't playing good with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You have a 61% win rate?
62, something like that. It's like 61.5, yeah. It's like, see, I'm rounding up, motherfucker. Because I got to care about it.
Div stacker. That's all you
dude,
are.
I don't fucking play. I hate this game solo. This game absolutely sucks when you play it by yourself. I can't stand it. It's like we're doing all these testing ships and everything, and it absolutely drives me fucking nuts to play by myself. I don't care to play by myself. I don't play games. I don't stream to do it alone. I stream to have a good time and bring people into the chat. Which guys can hit me up right here, twitch.tv/servantmik. Hit up citizen9 over there, twitch.tv/citizens9. There you go. Like I said, we're playing World of Warcraft lately, and I will not play that game alone. If I'm not in a group, I'm not playing it because I want to talk, I want the camaraderie, I want to bullshit, I want to make jokes, and you can't do that typing. It's impossible. So I want to bring everybody in, and I have like I've got like 14,000 games or something like that, and I think maybe 3,000 of them. No, not even 3,000. Maybe 2,000 are solo games. I don't like playing by myself.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't feel like there's a negative connotation for people who play in a div because you're just playing with somebody.
No.
Games are typically more enjoyable when playing with our friends.
In fact, I think there's a more negative connotation for playing solo than there is for playing in a division. I don't care if you have a very high win rate, but you're hurting your chances to win these games if you're playing solo. You 11 morons and you, or 9 morons and three dudes working together. I think I would take those 3 dudes working together and roll the dice on 9 morons instead of 11 morons.
Right. No. That's why divisions typically happen, right? Because if you put 3, good players in a div, you're removing the possibility of those 3, getting into their own separate game and having 11. So let's say, you take a random game. Instead of 11 bad players, you only have 9. So it removes the possibility.
RNG likes to bend me over and give me what for a lot in this game, and I probably have some of the worst RNG that I've ever seen. I go in there and I watch you play a Kudrsoft game, and you get like fucking 20 fires. I go and play a Worcester game, have 150 hits for 1 fire. I mean, it happens. That happens to me a lot.
I had that happen on stream. I had a Missouri that had 152 times and couldn't get a return fire.
Yeah.
And I just said to my chat, you know what? It's a bad position. I'm not stopping shooting this guy until I can get up.
Yeah. And it was and then you got that fire right as his repair was coming back up.
Oh yeah, I knew his repair was already back up. Yeah,
it's definitely frustrating, man. And so if I can take RNG out of that factor, I will do whatever I can to remove him from the game. But guys, we're coming up on 2 hours. How much longer you got, man?
Mom, till whenever.
Till whenever. All right, cool, guys. We're going to go into some Q&A session coming up here. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns about whatever we talked about today, we're going to touch lightly on a ship spotlight here. I've asked citizens9 to take a ship that he really enjoys or doesn't enjoy or wants to spotlight. Maybe somebody sleeps on it, and just tell us about your favorite ship or whatever. And I'll go first so you can think about it, because I don't really think I asked you to do that. But
you didn't.
So here's what I'm going to spotlight. My spotlight this week is the Friesland. Friesland just came out today. This thing is absolutely disgusting. It is an HE spammer. It is a very high fire rate. It has no torpedoes, so it is a fleet escort. It's a good secondary boat. It also has a 5-kilometer hydro. Highly recommended. It is out now, available in the for 1 million free XP. Well worth the 1 million free XP. This thing is disgusting. Some people are saying that it's broken OP, and I think that they may have rushed this boat a little bit, but I think it's very good. It's very, very good. No torpedoes, so be careful when you guys are playing this. I love the Friesland. I think it's great. Highly recommend it. Also, you haven't played it yet, but you will. You'll play it today, probably tonight. And my God, is that thing nasty. Highly recommended. Go spend the money or whatever you got to do to get this thing. Go punch your grandma, take her goddamn credit cards, and get all those doubloons and convert that free XP, man, because this thing is good. This thing is going to be good.
Okay. I wasn't ready for this.
You got a spotlight? You got a ship out there in your back pocket? All right, hit me up.
I do. My spotlight would be the Erie, the Tier 8 Spanish cruiser. I'm not joking.
I thought you said the Erie. I was like, why the fuck are you spotlighting a Tier 1 boat? But I've got 4 million experience on it now. Look.
I only have 30,000 games in Tier 1, okay? No. This is a ship that I never tested. Didn't buy it when it released. A lot of the time. They kind of just shit all over the boat. And they were like, in a boat, the gimmick of torpedoes just doesn't really work for you. I got it on my EU account. I don't know what they're talking about. That boat is fantastic.
Yeah.
The torpedoes are very, very nice for just doing long-range HE spamming. And the boat it works really well. It's definitely a ship that I would recommend to anybody to have. Just being able to get those torps out there, your damage potential on that thing is...
He's talking about the Irian. You're still cutting out during that little section, but the Irian is the Pan-Asian cruiser at Tier 8. It's supposed to be a cruiser.
If I sit on the microphone, does it work?
Maybe, I don't know. You get really loud there, but
I know.
but
I'm
but that's
sorry.
fine. It's not a big deal. Irian is a fantastic boat. I've had nothing but good things to say about this boat in my feedback when during the testing. Had a lot of fun playing it. It's very strong. It sets a lot of fires. The torpedoes, I don't ever count on torpedoes, so I just dump them anyway. Kind of like I've been doing with the Italian boats, just dumping them out and praying that something hits. And every once in a while, I will actually aim for something that comes into range, but for the most part, they're just dump and forget it torps for me.
I found one really fun thing to do if you ever get a know a battleship
Yeah, man, you're
way.
just. I mean,
You dump it. You turn, dump it, boost, dump, turn, dump. You just
yeah,
got 20 torpedoes. That poor guy,
yeah,
and you just rush him down.
yeah.
It's amazing.
It can do very nasty things. It is still kind of squishy like the Kudasov is. But if you play at mid range to long range, you do very well. No smoke though.
Yeah. Definitely doesn't need the smoke though because it's
Just don't get touched.
relatively.
Just
Yeah.
dodge.
Don't get hit, forehead.
Just don't get hit, man. There's no reason to get touched in these things, man. Nobody wants to get touched. Well, I mean, I want to get touched, but not like that. But that's another story for another time, guys. We're gonna go into the Q&A session. If you have any more questions, comments, we don't have too many questions right now, so this will be a very short question and answering portion of the stream. But before we do that, let's touch on some submarines. Submarines, my friend, they're on their way. When there's nothing new that has come out about submarines, but if in case you guys missed the podcast where we talked heavily about submarines, American Tier 6, 8, and 10, German Tier 6, 8, and 10 are on their way out. I'm not a fan. I'll be honest with you, man. I'm not a fan of submarines at all. Period.
Why do they have to do every other tier? Why can't they do one for every tier?
I don't know, man. They said they wanted to have the people going off. Their initial thought on submarines was they were gonna branch off of the DD line at Tier 6. Then they branch off of that line so they would have an idea of how to use torpedoes. But I'm like, well, the fucking torpedoes suck ass on the American line until you get the Mayhem at 9.2.
Yeah.
They're very suicidal torps or very ambushy type of torps. So I don't think that's kind of the reason. I think there's something else, but they've only got basically 3 boats here.
I don't think odd tier removal is my biggest issue. I don't think wargaming can successfully launch submarines into the game. Balanced. They didn't do it with season. 8 months later, I'm still complaining at them, and yet they want to do submarines. It's just like I don't. It's not something that I really feel like we need in the game. I don't feel like it's gonna do anything other than try to camping because you have a ship underwater now that nobody can see except for a destroyer. Maybe that can just nuke a battleship, right?
Yeah. They absolutely hurt, especially with the homing torpedoes that we've seen 32,000 damage on 1 or 2 torpedoes that actually cause Citadel damage.
Yes, but a sharp turn and you dodge them. Remember?
Yeah, right. No, I mean they tracked the CV for almost 4.5 kilometers. That he fired from the left. I mean, everybody saw that video. If you haven't seen that video, go check out the Gamescom footage. Highly recommend that.
Yeah, I think it's just one where I know that their philosophy out towards the game is just content over
Is what
all
now?
the things content over anything else.
Ah,
The
yeah.
game always needs to survive, and I disagree with it. But that's their philosophy, and unfortunately, their philosophy is the one that goes, not mine.
Their philosophy is one that goes. It's just okay. Take a break. Give me some new fucking game modes. All right, that's content. Give me new game modes. We can have all these fucking ships, but if I have to play fucking one more game of fucking standard battle, I'm gonna fucking throw up. I'm tired of this fucking game mode, man. It's so boring. It's so slow. Nobody has any balls. Nobody wants to push. Nobody wants to fucking make any moves. And
they're doing that one convoy game, right?
I have no idea. I
It's
haven't heard
where
anything.
the two teams have a
No, that was
like
a
Liberty ship.
that was a rumor.
That
That was like a hopeful thing.
Oh no, I thought it was an official dev blog that they did.
I don't know. I never saw that dev blog.
We'll see. I mean, maybe. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. But yeah, new game modes would be great. But the only problem with new game modes, they've tried new game modes. They're not typically successful
Well,
with them.
dude, they had
Epicenter.
Bastion. I thought Epicenter is fucking fantastic. I love Epicenter. I think Epicenter is probably one of the best things that they've done with this game because it forces people out of their comfort zone. They have to play the objective. It is an objective-based game, and people that refuse to play that objective, they lose and they bitch about the game mode because they're not playing it. But it takes the entire fucking team to do it, and they're not doing it. So the game mode is fine. It's the players that aren't adapting to that game. Also, some of the maps for Epicenter suck. Give me Epicenter on fucking Shatter. Not Shatter, but Shards.
Islands of Ice Epicenter. Awful.
That whole map is terrible. Tears of the Desert, still terrible. Fuck, man.
Better than it was.
Trident is good as a good. Warrior's Path was okay during that Tier 7 rank season that they did Epicenter.
Trident's a very good map. So
Yeah.
Epicenter works on it, just map.
Epicenter, yeah,
Allows
I
both-
definitely want to see Epicenter on Ocean. I mean, that would be badass.
Oh god.
Yeah,
The
Epicenter
problem
on
I have
Ocean.
with that is they lie on not getting close and just survive.
Yeah.
And how do you want them to fight in Epicenter?
You're
Or
not
ships
gonna
that,
fucking win if you don't play it. You gotta have some fucking balls to play that fucking game mode.
I'm thinking like ships like the Zao, close with the Zao, but if you're forced to on an episode, it's just not a winning situation.
Nope. And that's why
You're just getting
it'll be fucking
screwed over by
interesting.
matchmaker.
Fucking put Epicenter on Two Brothers.
I think they're doing that. I don't know.
I don't know why they would. Dude, I go up the middle so much in there. I can play that middle like fucking crazy good, and I really enjoy it, man. I don't think that. I think Bastion. You remember Bastion mode?
Yeah. I still have nightmares, but yeah.
Right. So everybody remembers. If anybody doesn't remember Bastion mode, there was forts that were placed inside the caps, and you had to kill the forts, and then so you could camp the camp. Well, these things spotted you, like literally spotted you immediately if you're in a GK. Because I remember playing in a GK on Hotspot, and I went over to the A cap, and as soon as I spawned in, I was immediately spotted. And that thing had fucking 12 and 13 kilometer fucking range. And I thought that was pretty fucking dumb. But instead of fixing it, what'd they do? They scrapped it. Instead of adjusting it, what'd they do? They just absolutely, this thing is a mistake, and they fucking threw it away. Same thing what they've done. They put so much energy into things, and they put it out, and then they just scrap it. The AA model. The original rework AA model, it's gone now. I mean, it was actually getting to be pretty balanced, or at least I felt balanced. I was punished when the CVs got damage off of me. I shot down planes. It was fine, and then they just throw it away into this other AA model. Now it sucks again. So now they're going to have to put in more, and it's going to slingshot again. It's going to go from one side of the pendulum to the other, where it's terrible, and then it's going to it's terrible over here, and then it's going to go too good, and then it's going to come back here, and then it's going to come over here, and we're in for another 4 rounds. I think that submarines are going to be easier to balance than the fucking CVs because they're surface ships. Because not only do you have to balance the actual planes, you have to balance the actual boat. Now you have to balance fucking AA to counter it. See, all you have to do is balance fucking the damage on the fucking torpedoes.
Depending on how strong the torpedoes are, the submarine has the benefit for the players over CVs in that you actually have to put your ship in the position to do damage. Where with an aircraft carrier, you don't have to, and that's why it's so frustrating to fight them, because you're not fighting the CV player. Fighting is ammunition, and the ammunition always does damage. But whereas with the submarine, you have to worry about the torps, but you'll also have the ability to possibly kill the submarine depending on how that flank is going, stuff like that. So there's definitely balance that can be done there than just, well, let's hope your AA is terrible, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. So rumor mill time. Like I said, we're only going to touch on submarines, just very briefly. Overall, give me your opinion on subs.
Too soon.
Too soon? think it's too soon? Okay. I think number one, I hate submarines. I think submarines are stupid. Steel Ocean was probably one of the most boring games I've ever played. Watching Cold Waters is like getting your teeth drilled at the fucking dentist. I find submarine warfare very droll and very dumb. So with that being said, they're coming, and there's nothing that I can do about it. As for that, how they balance them out and how they go in through implementing them is going to be a big key factor on whether they're going to be good enough for the game. Honestly, from what I've seen, they're not going to be balanced ever. Can they balance them? Probably they can. They need to. Here's the rumor mill, guys. There is rumors out there that Wargaming has gone to some of these museum ships and have started 3D modeling of these things, taking pictures and doing things with these for another line of destroyers. That's the rumor mill. I can't confirm or deny any of this, but you know what I'm talking about. You saw that post, didn't you?
No.
You didn't see that post? Hold on, let's see if I can find it.
Another line of what? Russian renta ships?
It was actually American. It was actually American DDs. So possibly now, rumor mill guys, rumor, tinfoil hat theory. Possibly a line of anti-sub destroyers. This is my theory here. When I started thinking about this rumor, possibly another line of DDs coming out that will strictly counter submarines.
I don't think they'd be so, but it just depends on how prevalent they are in the actual game itself with submarine, because they might submarines might just be as dominant as the aircraft carrier is, or they might be a normal ship, and so it just really depends on what they actually end up doing with them. So I don't think you'd focus on alternate destroyer just for anti-sub warfare, but I definitely see it in line coming because America just built so many different destroyer because they needed them. So I could definitely see an alternate line like that. Wouldn't be surprised if something like Allen and some gearing class was a tier 10 if they did that.
I think I think something interesting. There's interesting opportunities here, and I remember Sub Octavian saying that, shit, how many fucking Fletcher class ships did they make? That there's opportunities that they could just really just spam fucking tier 9 with a whole bunch of Fletchers, or tier 8 with a bunch of Fletchers, or whatever, and put it as a kid, or move them up to tier 9, make one better, give a Fletcher with double guns, and call it tier 10. There's so much other shit that they can do, and they have the models ready for
10 twin guns.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. Why not? I mean, let's make an American. Let's make an American HE spammy fucking line. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that they can do with the game, and I think that there's still things that they haven't released information to us at all. I mean, so they bring subs in, and that's okay. This is our big deal. Everybody throws a fit about it, but they don't see the next thing. They don't see the third thing down the line, and so I tend to just not enjoy submarines overall. And from what I've seen in the gameplay, it's still a lot like the Halloween event that they did, which they made a comment about that kind of pissed me off when they made it. We knew that we put out the submarines in the Halloween event, and guess what, guys? Y'all told us that that this is what y'all wanted to play. It was the only fucking thing to play. It was literally the only thing to fucking play. How? Of course, man. That's a fucking that right there is stat sheet numbers right there, and that is a stat sheet statement because there was nothing else to play.
I've always it's just the reason I say it's too.
Say that bit again. Why is it too soon?
The reason I say it's too soon is, are people satisfied with CV rework? I'm
No.
not. I'm still not. So I want one class of ship to actually, if I have to it, at least balance it. I don't want another class of ship to just be just introduced into the game when one of them is still being done, and now we gotta try to work on this one too. It's just I don't know. I don't find submarines to fit. I don't know why it's a focus, but whatever. I'm gonna have to deal with them eventually or find a different game. That sort of thing.
I said something last night. I said something last night that I'm starting to think more and more. There's this air of a really weird vibe going around the game right now. It's nothing one thing in particular. It's a lot of little things that have started to add up. The game is in for a big major shift. I think that I think, and I'm feeling this deep down in my soul, that the game is in for a huge fucking shift. And I'm not talking about. I'm talking about there's a shift gonna happen, kind of like the smoke shit. There's a little bit of a change when the smoke shift happened. When the smoke change happened, a little bit of a change when the Invisifier nerf went down. There is a big shift in gameplay coming out. IFHE was the biggest game shift ever so far that I've seen. They shifted from battleship focus to a very heavy cruiser focused game, and it's been stayed in that cruiser focused game for a long, long time. The subs might be that shift, but I highly doubt it because depending on how they limit the number of submarines, and they won't know until they actually put it into play. Is 3 submarines too many? Is having 3 submarines on the game detrimental to? Are you going to still be able to play the fucking objectives and win the game other than that, or does it just become a pure unadulterated team deathmatch mode? I mean, so there's a lot of things to attribute here, and I just think in my bones that there's a big fucking shift coming, and it's gonna cause the game to either it's gonna take off or it's gonna just kind of stay where it's at.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Submarines would probably be definitely meta shit. One other thing that I would like to add on them is just why does everything seem to just focus on killing battleships?
I've noticed that too. IFHE was
Yeah.
more. The cruisers need to be more effective against battleships. DDs need to be more effective against battleships. What are battleships effective against? Well, they're effective against cruisers sometimes, and they're pretty much ineffective against DDs anymore, unless you swap to HE and then you get 7,000. You hit them again for like 2,000 because you've damage saturated the whole fucking thing.
I found it's still just better to shoot a.
It is. You get more consistent damage. And you guaranteed that all I have to do is hit a couple of things, and if RNG is in my favor, I can still do 10,000 damage to the guy.
Yeah.
It becomes more consistent. But then there's that HE shell hit that does no damage but knocks out everything.
Yeah, and then you've got submarines, which those homing torpedoes look designed to punish battleships, not cruisers, not destroyers. Just focus on killing the battleship.
Agreed.
Again, it just seems like they just focus too much on that. I don't know why.
I don't know either. I mean, there's more examples of this. The high HE spamming fucking garbage, Colbert and the Smolensk and, the Harry Gumbo.
The Colbert at least has weaknesses.
Well, I mean, the weaknesses on the Colbert are just move. All you have to do is
Yeah.
wiggle, and you can't hit anything. The Smolensk, there's not much weaknesses other
Well,
than that.
the Colbert, can't just create its own cut.
Right.
But, yeah. But yeah, I agree. Like the small, uh, just HE spam.
I don't know, man. I'm not trying to be poor battleship, but they're hurting. I mean, they're in a rough spot right now. They're in a very rough spot. Honestly, dude, like for everything that they've done, like the best thing that they've done was bring out the Russian battleship line. Like literally everything from tier 6 and above is solid, and they're all great. The accuracy on them is great all the way through. They're I think that maybe they need to think about taking the limited number of consumables, repair parties, and throwing it on everything, because then it gives us more control of when we can actually hit the button. And instead of, I'm gotta wait a fucking minute, so I'm gonna burn out for a fucking minute, which will make them a little bit stronger.
And that Russian DCP is by far the strongest that you can pretty much have anywhere you go. So, I mean, you might have to balance the number of charges you give some classes like cruisers and destroyers, but maybe. But that might be a positive change towards helping out fire spam play. Because as it stands right now, it's like I'm on a double fire. Like, do I really want to rep this? Probably not, but I can't really sustain the charge.
Well, they've sat there and they've said that they want to force people into choosing one thing or another, but they've basically forced us into playing nothing but fire prevention. And fire prevention came at a time when there wasn't much HE spam. There was a little bit of it. You had Zhao, you had Demonies. Hindenburg was still strong back then when fire prevention came out. But now, fire prevention's just not good enough anymore. It's not good enough. And I think they need to rework it, or if they're going to keep it the way that they have it, drop it down to 3 points and make it actually fucking viable for some people to be able to take it at 3 points instead of 4, or make it better. Make it better. Give it the 25 to 40% buff on, reduction on fire chance, or change the way fire mechanics interact with it. Diminishing returns on fire. If you get 1,000 damage on the front half, you can only get 900 the second fire. You know what I'm saying? To give it a little bit more survivability, because with a Colbert and a Harry Gumbo can burn down a Montana 80,000 damage under a minute and a half.
Oh yeah, no, I I had a smallest game like 2 days ago. Obviously, he shouldn't have done that, but then I set a permanent triple fire on him the next 3 salvos. And my chat watched me burn down a tier 10 battleship, full HP, in a single smoke screen, And it was all fires.
Yeah. I think it's the point that it's a little bit out of hand. And everything since that point, everything since that fire prevention have come out has been nothing but to destroy battleships. We need to get damage because we are cruisers. So how's the only way that we're going to do it efficiently? Well, that's fucking fires. I offer you the Akizuki and up. I offer you the Cleveland and up. I offer you fucking the Smolensk and the Colbert and the Friesland. Holy shit, there is so much fucking HE spam out here that's ridiculous and doesn't need to be as heavy as it is. But either way, so there you go. That's what I got. That's what I got for you. And that's all I got for you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into the Q&A section right now. You guys can hit me up at sir_venom_IK over on the Twitters, or if you guys are over on the YouTube channel, twitch.tv/SirVenomIK if you want to come in and have a live conversation. And then you guys can also hit up my guest today, twitch.tv/citizen9. Thank you very much for coming on to the podcast, man. We're going to go into the Q&A session. Now is the time for you to promote your channel, tell them about yourself, and tell them what your schedule is so they can come and watch you.
My schedule. So yeah, for those who don't know me, I think all of you guys know me though. I've just been streaming the last year over on my own channel, obviously, and recently gained a community control back the middle of August, so that's been pretty nice. Typically just like to play whatever I can. A lot of times it's just tier 10 because I hate the matchmaking of the tier. But yeah, just play, have a good time. Try not to rage too much, but sometimes it slips through, and that's just basically all that I do. Lately it's just been, working on the test boats that I have, and then just playing with anybody I play with.
There you go. All right, there it is, boys. Let's go into the Q&A. Sandor says SAP is way too strong against DDs. Yes, it is. I think they need to look at that. And I'm not trying to give DDs anything because fuck the destroyer players. They need to get punished for being too close. But it is a little bit over the top when you can get 10,000-12,000 damage in SAP, where I used to be able to do that in a fucking battleship, and I know all the battleship guys are out there. I used to do damage, man. I used to do damage. I know they're sitting back there like, yeah, I remember that shit. But I agree, it's a little overpowered.
Yeah, definitely. I think we already covered that with the Italians. SAP does a bit too much to destroy.
Yeah. The next comment on the deal was also from Sandor. He says, I agree. Positioning and situational awareness are at least 50%, and then maybe 10% aim and 40% RNG. I still think that I will give you, it's a 70-30% split that I've said, but I'll give you 25% for positioning. I'll give 25% for positioning, and then so 60-40, 60-35 maybe.
60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe. 60-35 maybe I mean, yeah, we did already cover that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not really going to change my answer.
No.
I think it's
Have you ever
primarily
been?
position based.
So Eddie Pearl says, if you've ever been in real combat, you understand position and fire superiority, along with being focused fire, however overwhelming you win engagement. That's fucking bullshit for this game. That has absolutely no bearing on this game. This is not a
Yeah,
real combat simulator. This is not a real combat game. But positioning and quote unquote the flank, which always makes me laugh when people, I'm going out to flank, and I'm like, dude, we're playing co-op, dude. Shut the fuck up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you can go out there and then you can get one shot because you make a fucking mistake. Even if you have the superior firepower, it matters little for this game.
yeah.
Because we've all seen 3 boats hold back 7 boats and the other side can't push up. I mean, we've all seen that, and it happens a lot.
Yeah, I've seen that before, and it's just like realism does primarily that real boats don't have health bars.
This is true. Crossfire is a real thing, though. What are torpedo arcs on the Italians? They're pretty decent. I'd say they're not as good as say the Mogador, but they're better than something like the Atlanta, somewhere in between there, which is a very wide range. Is there any?
Yeah, they're not god tier, but they're good.
They're decent enough. I mean, like think better than the Grafs Bay arcs. You don't have to go as broadside to get them out. Is there any chance of fires on the SAP with demo? No, no fire at all on the SAP. Butch Kane says, I think if you most base XP, the lowest player on the winning team, you should save your star. If you have more base XP than the lowest player on the winning team, you should save your star. I disagree.
I mean, I feel like.
I mean, like that's like everybody. Like that guy gets detonated, everybody, he has 0 points or 100 points, and everybody wins, even if they lose again.
One thing that might be interesting to see if it would be an actual thing with ranked is that just extend the amount of stars you need to rank out, and then just you don't lose stars. So it's like a contest to who can rank out fastest without having to lose anything while they're progressing. So that way, provided you put in the games you want to eventually rank.
I'll just make it, okay, guys. To rank out, you need to play 1,000 games. That's it. Doesn't matter if you lose. Doesn't matter if you win. It's just fucking randoms, man.
I'm thinking like
you gotta have you gotta have some
80
punishment for. Well, there's got to be some punishment for losing, because then people just don't give a shit. They're just like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm not losing a star.
Unfortunately, though, in my opinion, ranked is competitive.
I'd say that again.
Ranked doesn't. It's not competitive.
I know it's a test of patience. It's definitely a test of patience over a test of skill. But I do think that it is kind of competitive, meaning that you are competing against the other 6 fucking players or 7 fucking players on the team. But it's not like official competitive, something like clan battles or something like King of the Sea would be. But I definitely think it's at a lower step of competitiveness.
Yes.
I find it laughable that only the good players are fine with matchmaking the way that it is. Matchmaking, we didn't talk about this, but the matchmaker did change to where they were still doing calculations at this point. But I've seen a lot more all tier 10 games, and I've seen about
seen even all tier 9 games.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I've also seen a lot less tier 8 versus tier 10 games, where I would play 10 games and 9 out of the 10 of those games I was tier 8 to tier 10. I'm starting to see more of a 60-40 split on. Okay, I'm bottom tier, I'm top tier, and it's getting better, but it's still going to take time, because you have to play a minimum of 20 games before that actually takes place.
Yeah, going up, regrinding an additional line. I have noticed that the matchmaking for tier 6 and 7 seems to favor up tiering. Tier 8 seems to be about 50-50 up tiering. And then 50% it seems to be top tier. Tier 9 just seems to be perfectly fine, normal as is. Then tier 10, obviously a lot of all 10 games. I don't have a problem with the all tier 10 games, but I do have a problem with the tier 6.
You playing Minesweeper?
No. Does it keep cutting?
No, I don't know. I'm hearing you click on something.
Sorry.
I thought it's either cookie clickers or you're playing Minesweeper. Uh, I'd be nice if matchmaking took into account whether the ships were stock or developed. Now, this is something. This is something that I saw, and I was like, yes, there has to be some kind of matchmaking protection for those stock boats. Getting in a stock New Mexico with 14-kilometer range is awful when you're at tier 8. And that is absolute garbage. Getting a stock North Carolina, which sucks. As stock Iowa kind of sucks, but you're kind of fucked. So there's not much you can do at tier 9. Some of these stock boats with the shorter ranges, they fucking hurt when you're like, literally, let's just pray that we get some kind of damage so we can get at least our A hold going, or at least our B hold going, man. 'Cause it's a rough, terrible thing. So I think maybe that they do look into stock boats, but that's just going to slow down your matchmaking even more.
Yeah. That ain't gonna change.
No, it won't. There's also I've also seen a little bit more of like 3-3, 4 versus 4 games. I've seen a lot of those
I've had
lately.
some of those happen. Yeah. I've had some games. The matchmaker really wants to give me an all 10 game, but doesn't find enough tier 10 players, so it'll just dump all of us into like an 8v8. It's just like, can you not?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm not a bad player. I just hate running a new vanilla ship tier 9 at the moment into a match filled with tier 10s, and they're fully outfitted. That's your tier 9, man. Tier 9 is 10. That's nothing I can tell you about that, man. Tier 9 is an interesting tier. Everything is pretty decent at tier 9, but you're either going to be middle tier or you're going to be top tier. That's it. There's no bottom tier for you. So you're either mid tier or you're top tier, period. And pray that you get top tier because you're playing against tier 7s. Because that's the only option for you.
Stock tier 9 battleships aren't very bad.
No, the stock Iowa is rough, but it's not as rough as, say, the stock North Carolina or the stock Colorado.
Exactly.
But the Iowa really kind of sucks until you get the sea hull. Once you get the sea hull,
with the rudder shift, yeah.
Once you get the sea hull, it gets a lot better on that one. So it's just kind of suffer and learn how to play at a disadvantage. I think
very nice rate.
It's very forgiving too. I'm going back through and playing it, man. I was absolutely monstering people down. I had a couple of games where I was just like, I didn't really do much here, but then I finally was like, I got kind of aggressive with it and put myself in a position to where I was being able to get the cross shots. It was being able to get the flanks and pushing in and playing objectives and getting caps in this thing. And it worked, man. It's just a good boat. A lot of people shit all over it, but fucking love it, man.
Yeah,
fucking love it.
No, I mean, provided you know how to protect your citadel. Fantastic.
Now, protecting your citadel doesn't mean just fucking sit bow in. It means, angle out, get your guns off to turn back in.
To turn out, to turn in.
Yeah.
Not just, I might get shot here. Let me just battleship that was holding for you just puts up, then it gets a double or something. Yeah. That's the biggest thing that like people I think found out with the Georgia is that this isn't a Massachusetts where up close to you get citadel, so people are really ready for how to protect themselves. Whereas me, it's just like, play like an Iowa.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Matchmaking balance is a constant issue for wargaming across all of their titles. They'll never fix it. Matchmaking will never be fixed. They can only hope to adapt and put a Band-Aid on it, but it'll never be fixed to anybody's liking. I mean, like, what do you want? What's kind of funny about this, Citizen? It's like I've heard more bitching from people that are playing tier 10 because they don't have anything but tier 10s to beat on.
It's not an issue for me. I don't need to delete a tier 8 to feel good about myself.
I know that, but you're not.
Right.
You're not a
I'm
typical player. I'm an average guy, but
yeah. But I wonder how it is for players. Whereas if like maybe they play their tier 10 specifically so they tier 8.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they want. But for me, this is just my opinion. Matchmaking, +1, -1. It would be a really good thing.
Matchmaking +1, -1. I mean, it would
always incentivize me to play anything
It's such a
because
hard thing to
I
justify.
hate being double up tiered.
No, I don't.
I
I don't.
hate it.
I mean, at tier 8 going into tier 10, you just kind of we've grown to accept the fact that it's going to happen at tier 10. I don't think +1 -1 is feasible because I don't think there's enough players in the game at all hours of the night. But they have done this in the past where they do this particular matchmaking, and after a certain amount of time, it just reverts to the previous tier, the previous matchmaking mechanic. So if they wanted to now, they could implement a +1 -1 matchmaking system for the first 2 minutes and then revert to the previous. Does that make sense? They could do it if they wanted to, but I don't foresee that happening. Mainly because
Uh,
at any given time, maybe we have 12,000 people on the server,
I know
maybe
they're
18 at the max.
I know they're just super set against it, but I don't think it would hurt. Just because it prevents the frustration of being up tiered twice. It would encourage me to actually want to play all premiums that I all tiers. Because right now I don't want to play a tier premium because I don't want to go fight a tier.
Say that a bit again.
Right now I don't want to play a tier 7 premium. Tier 9.
Yeah, there's
That's
going back through the lines. We went back through and we got our Montana again, and we're in the Edinburgh. Dude, holy shit! Tier 7 sucks. Tier 7 matchmaking is terrible now. And that's the thing. That's the thing about it. It was like if you fix one thing, something else fucks up on the other end. When they fix the tier 4 preferential matchmaking, they fuck tier 5. Tier 5 is in 7s all the fucking time. And, instead
tier 6, they messed that one up too.
Yeah, tier 6 is going to 8s all the time now. I mean, so if you fix it down lower, it sends the shit rolls uphill this time instead of rolling downhill. But now they're trying to fix it at the top end, it's just going to roll right back into the downhill. And where is it going to land? Tier fucking 6 and 7, right in the fucking middle of the pack, and it's gonna be a hard tier for new players. So I don't really have any sympathy for people bitching about tier 8 matchmaking because you're at fucking tier 8. At this point in time, you should know how to fucking play the game, and whether it's your first line, I totally get that thing. But there has to be some point of okay, this is your gear check or whatever nut up. Now it's time for you to nut up, learn the fucking game, or go play something else. I mean, and I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. How much are we gonna dumb down the game for these new players that refuse to fucking learn how to play? It's such a frustrating aspect, and I don't envy wargaming for taking on this this problem of fucking matchmaking. So at some point in time, people are going to have to learn how to play, whether they're top tier or bottom tier. Because I know how many times have you been bottom tier and just rip through everything, and we've all done it.
Of course, yeah, but I it's not that I can't do it; it's that I don't want to. It's not fun to me when I'm in like a tier 8 whatever, and I run into a tier 10 counter, and it doesn't really matter what our skill levels are unless complete potato. It's just me losing the fight just because I'm in a weaker ship just based off of its stats.
Oh.
And that's why I say it's something that I feel would benefit the game. Wargaming feels differently, but you know what, we're both entitled to that different opinion. Was it something that could work? Possibly. Is it something that could fail? Possibly. So it just really depends.
I think the biggest issue is that this game is too much of a casual game. People,
Probably.
you have two very different camps of this game. You have the casual player, and then you have the guys like us that are fucking. That's all we do. Or that's all I do. I don't know about you. I'm sure you play other stuff, but this is all. It's pretty much all I play. And there's two different types of camps. They're trying to make it appealing for both people, but one isn't as good as the other. Let's be fair. There's some people out there that are fucking a hell of a lot better than I am at this game, and when I play against them, it's a very rough game for me. Do I can bitch and moan about it? No, not really. It's just I'm working to get myself better. Now, when I go play against people that I'm better than, Do they bitch and moan? Goddamn right they bitch and moan. They call you a hacker. They call you a cheater. They fucking have no idea how the fucking game is played because they haven't taken the time to fucking learn it. So what do game companies do? They tend to dumb down the game to where it's very casually and very accessible to the part-time player, what I like to call them, the part-time player, and that they can pick up and put down at any point in time. But they never really learn the game, and they think that people are cheating on them when they're not. When they just don't have the knowledge. So there's those two camps, and they're trying, and wargaming is trying to balance the casual player, balance the average player, balance the super unicorn player. They're trying to balance all this shit together, and at some point in time, just shut the fuck up and play the goddamn game. And I'm getting tired of hearing about fucking matchmaker sucks. Matchmaker sucks. I mean, yes, it does, but that's what we got. Seriously, that's all we got right now. And they've obviously said they don't want to do +1 -1, which I think would benefit the game eventually, immensely, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
And it just goes back feeding off of your point earlier. If they don't want to do that, then every time they make, it's going to go pummel another tier, down the line somewhere.
Yeah,
I think the last
you fix one tier, it's going to fuck
did,
something else up, yeah.
Yeah. I'd say the last matchmaking tier that didn't go, fuck something down the line was the tier 10 CV changes. Instead of double CVs, it was
no, that was actually good. And
yeah.
the only thing that it fucked was there's more CVs out there to put in other games, but that's fine because there's only one. And one CV I find, one CV at tier 10 I find to be a nuisance, but not overly overly overpowered. I base this on CV gameplay alone. They're either all over your shit or they're worthless. There's no in between on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're either dominant or they do nothing. So, we're gonna speed this up a little bit here. Sorry for taking so long because I know you're busy. Experience is what matters in my opinion, not PR. Base experience, maybe not perfect, but it rewards for many things that count, like capping. But the only problem with that is that that's all boostable. Base experience is all boostable. You can sit there and have base experience in The Sims and just play that all fucking day long and have this really high fucking rating.
So, for those who don't know how PR is calculated, is on win rate, damage, and average kills.
Say that again.
The PR focuses on win rate, damage, and average kills. Nothing else is in PR. It's on their website, literally right there. Base XP, if you're getting high base XP game, PR will be high, but you shouldn't look at it as an end-all be-all.
Right.
You should look at all of your stats, where it is that you're slacking. Am I winning a lot of games? Then you don't have to really worry about what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Players, it hardly matters. Players are leaving PvP, either quitting or playing co-op now. I'm not quite sure what Taylor was talking about here.
I don't know anybody who's switching to co-op, but I do know of a lot of people quit the game.
I do know a lot of people who play only co-op, and then they
months.
complain about the random games. This is the frustrating. You know what I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
These guys play nothing but co-op, and then they get shit on when they go to the regular game. Then they bitch that they're getting shit on, but they've only learned how to play co-op. So this goes back into the point that I was talking about. They've never learned how to play the fucking game. Oh, everybody's just a fucking elite player. I'm like, man, I'm a motherfucking average guy. Well, if you're never gonna get to elite status or learn or be an average guy if you don't fucking play it and lose. It's okay to not be good at this game. It's okay to admit that you're not good at this game, as long as you're willing to learn and willing to listen to what motherfuckers tell you about maybe some mentalities, man. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do. I've got a fucking YouTube channel that you can go on and look at some of these mechanics that I've talked about that for the new players, but people just really don't care. I think that's what it is. He just doesn't care. He just wants to be dominant, and that's all he wants to do. So all he does is play operations and co-op. That doesn't teach you how to play the game. Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm an asshole for saying that shit. But if you're going off and playing co-op and then bitching about random battles, fuck you. Who cares? You have no idea what's going on then. There you go. Taylor says, I have 22K games and maybe I have a dozen in a division. Play more division games. It'll up your win rate. Guaranteed. Let's see. What gun should I use on the Gotti, 128 or the 150? Both are good. If you play the 150s, you can't play as close and aggressive because of the slow turn rate and the slow reload, so you have to play mid-range.
I would go with the 128s.
Yeah. Either one is
More
good.
DPM, run BFT.
Yep. Pico says, I love submarines. They were fun at Steel Ocean. This game's not fucking Steel Ocean. The way it seemed to me for balancing and testing, adding more once everything works out. I'm not sure what he's talking about here. Maybe the CV rework? Mara's the wiki? Not sure. Pooper Panther says, I think I will take a long while for players to be able to sneak in that far, fire a torpedo, and track it set it off correctly. There are some skill used to subs, in my opinion. Well, we don't know yet.
Yeah,
aiming the pings. I can see where it'll be pretty skillful. Aiming the pings is like aiming a torpedo. You have to really hit it because you send it out there and it travels along the water, and that guy can turn and dodge the ping. That's a thing. But they've also made it lowest common denominator. If you do actually hit those pings, you're gonna get some fucking damage, or at least they're gonna track. For the very noob player, that's kind of an offset. Also, I think the submarines kind of run the feel of the game, as especially for DDs, because that's a lot of pressure. Like we said about DDs, they're gonna have to cap. They're gonna have to spot. Oh, hey guys, let me go get this cap. Oh shit, we're tracking a fucking submarine back here. So now he's got to go do that, and he's basically taking him out of the game to play this little fucking mini game chasing these circles around. So I don't agree with it. So I'm thinking if they're doing this other line like the rumor mill has been started. If they're doing this other line, I hope they do it right. I also want them to put stuff on some of these cruisers so that they can help out, or even some of the battleships, that they can throw shit out there as well, instead of just having it on the DDs alone, because that is a lot of pressure to put on the DDs that might not be able to do it. And it's a very hard class to play originally. There's a lot of people they're intimidated by DDs and playing as a DD, and I'm a terrible DD player. Because I've only played battleships, I mean, I've heard this a lot. You've heard this a lot too. I've never played. I'm a terrible DD player, man. I could never do it. You're never gonna get good at it unless you fucking do it. So go fucking play it. Go suck for a while, and I mean, maybe I can help you with something down the road. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean the only way to get experience things is to
fail.
Get experience.
Yeah. There's no
gonna...
participation medals here. You have to go and lose your ships, and you have to put yourself in stupid situations and figure out a way to get out of it. If you fail, then think about it. I went around left this side. Did I know that guy was there? Yes, he was on the mini-map. No, he wasn't on the mini-map. If he wasn't on the mini-map, then you made the right decision. If he was on the mini-map, then you made the wrong decision. There's so many things that unfortunately, Citizen, as good as you are, you can't teach people. There's some things that they have to experience on their own. And unless they do it, then they'll never do it, because I can't teach them situations. I can teach you mentality. Maybe you'll make a right decision or not, but I can't teach you all the situations, because I can sit here and we can go over 1,000 what if scenarios right now. What if this happens? Well, then you should do that. What if that happens? Well, then you should do this and then that. We can do that, but until they do it themselves, they will not learn.
Right. You're correct on that one. The biggest thing would be just to, if you're trying to get there, watch people better than you.
Yeah.
Figure out that. That'll help you in your learning process. And then also, when you're learning or trying to, ask yourself, how could I have done this better? Don't just, don't be the guys where clearly they were hacking, just figure out why.
If somebody sits there and calls you a hacker or you're a cheater for some reason, you got an aimbot, then you're doing something correct. You're doing something correct, or maybe you got lucky. But more often than not, you're doing something right if they're calling you a hacker, in my experience.
Yeah. So, typically the only thing I could say is uh, use your own hindsight and try to ask yourself, how could I have played that?
Yeah. I mean,
Stuff
I
like
do it
that.
all the time. I don't know about you. I know you do it every once in a while, but I do it all the time.
Every once in a
I
while,
go
I'll
around
say it
this
out loud.
corner. I fucked up. Oh, there's a smoke over there. I should have known that there was torps when I saw that smoke, but I didn't fucking pay attention to the smoke. I mean, there's a lot of things that and I am very hard on myself, like especially during rank season, because for some rank means a lot to me. To be able to rank out means a lot to me. I know it doesn't mean a lot to some people, or maybe they don't care about it, but it is the only sense of any kind of competition that I will ever dip into. I don't care about clan battles, don't care about any of that other shit. But rank season is me versus them other 7 guys. And I want to help my 6 other guys to fucking win the game. It's not have to be all on my shoulders, but I also don't want to be a detriment. So when I fuck up and I die early, it's so I get so pissed off. Man, you're an idiot, man. Why'd you do this shit? And you go punch a hole in the wall, whatever. I'm very hard on myself when it comes to this game.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't beat yourself up over it, but I just try to use your experience to formulate your plans for the future for those situations.
Yeah.
Um, like
And
for
whenever you formulate those plans, like Citizen's talking about, feel free to just throw them out the window when it's necessary. Be flexible.
and like your biggest thing that I don't think people realize, how to get better at destroyers. They are my best.
Say that again, man.
Stop microphone.
I don't know what's wrong with the thing, man. It just cuts
if I
out.
Turn the gain up, I don't want to turn the gain up.
I can't even hear that. I don't want to turn the gain up, but
All right, I turned the gain up. Is that better?
yeah, I don't know. We'll find out.
Maybe. Biggest thing I would like offer advice,
Yeah.
and this is for destroyers specific. Sometimes cruisers. Always ask yourself, what do I do if I get spotted right now?
There you go.
If you're in a DD, and that'll help you figure out exactly how you're gonna play a game, or how you're gonna react, how you're gonna be offensive, defensive.
All right. That's very good. What happens if I get spotted now? I mean, that's always a good mentality. Static the Warmonger says, I want a complete battle royale where nobody wins until one completely runs out of the other players alive. So just make it
Static's
fucking
a forehead.
make it a team deathmatch game. That's pretty much what standard battles become to anyway.
Provided
just take off the fucking caps.
Provided the edge of the map brings people in. Sure.
That's fine. Yeah.
But
I
not
really
one
enjoyed
where they can sit on the map and I have to spend 30 minutes as the last person alive trying to hunt down a DD on 4 HP, something like that,
Yamato's with fucking radio location. Yeah. Beyond the Grave, the biggest problem here is that Wargaming has a my way or the highway mentality. They have a bad tendency of ignoring their player base / release ships nobody wants, and spamming premium after premium after premium. I don't necessarily think it's my way or the highway. It's this is the game, take it or leave it, which is basically my way or the highway. And as for play boats that nobody wants, who gives a shit? They're putting out content.
I don't have an issue with them releasing more premiums. I have an issue with them releasing premiums that are just blatantly Smolensk.
Yeah.
And then the my way or the highwayman. Hey, this is clearly overpowered. No, here's the spreadsheet.
That's a frustrating thing. That's a frustrating thing to run into. Being on this one, I've never really gone toe to toe with any of these guys because I pretty much was like, okay, whatever, this is fine. But I'm really against this Smolensk. I really don't think that this boat needs to be in the game, or they need to nut this thing. And when you get pushback from them saying, well, the spreadsheet says this, fuck your spreadsheet. Like, get off of the fucking spreadsheet. I don't understand spreadsheets have a lot to do with this game and a lot to do with balancing and averaging, but spreadsheets don't tell the whole story.
Yep.
100%.
Exactly.
You can have all the fucking numbers you want to, and this is why I fail to see some of these other guys' points. Well, the numbers say this. I'm like, fuck the numbers. Go play the goddamn boat and see how fucking strong it is. Go play against the boat and see how fucking strong it is. It is ridiculous. Well, it's only got 35,000. I don't give a shit if it's only got 35,000 hit points. That thing is way broken. And you take more hit points away from it, it's still going to be broken. You take the smoke away from it, it'll be fine. It'll be punishable. That's the thing. That's the frustrating thing about Invisifier. It was so fucking overpowered to be able to be shot by these things that you could not even see, that you could not retaliate against. Taking your skill level, your fucking pride, and taking it out of your hands and dying because you have no recourse and no retaliation. That's the most frustrating fucking thing about this game. Is there's so many situations where you can absolutely do nothing, and because you can't see the motherfucker and you can't shoot back at him. Yeah, maybe you can spray that fucking spray that smoke, but that's about all you're gonna do. So there's a lot of frustration factor when playing against these things, and I don't think it needs to be there.
Right.
So get rid of the smoke. I get the game is an arcade and not realistic, but with things like the Hairy Gumbo, etc., when did the game stop being informed by reality? I think the game is, I think the game is based in reality, but it's a fucking arcade game, so they can do whatever they want to. The boats already go way faster than everything that they're supposed to. They're already bigger than half of the fucking thing. Have you seen some of the scaling on these ships, dude? Like
well,
the
boats
fucking
on average move at about
200 plus speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause if not, then you're playing fucking snail pace. Then you're like, just think about it. If boats were in reality here, you would never see the enemy, and you would get maybe one hit out of 10 shots, and everything would go the speed of the fucking Colorado. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to play a game where they're going slow. Nobody wants to fucking play the goddamn Colorado. As good a boat that is, it's too fucking slow. And just think about that game, or everything being that fucking speed. That would be terrible, and people would be bored off their ass.
Right. Yeah, no, it'd be too slow. You're right.
The game would be too slow. The game is already slow enough as it is.
I have no problem with it being arcadey and having the unrealistic elements.
Yeah. But if it was realistic, fires wouldn't burn down ships. Beyond the Grave, Sir Venom, do you think the Research Bureau was a good idea? For me, it was great. Because I got to play back through a couple of lines and show people that these boats can be good. I really enjoyed the American battleship line going through it. Playing the South Carolina down there, fucking getting citadels on Kawachis and shit was always fun. Playing back through that, playing through some of the boats like the fucking Emerald and the Dane, man, that was excruciating. But then you start getting to the Leander, which is good. The Fiji is fucking phenomenal. I'm in the Edinburgh now. It's good for me. Number one, for a streamer, it's content. Number two, I just enjoy playing the game, and it gives me a reason to do something. It gives me a goal. So yes, I thought it was a good idea.
Yes.
What do you think?
For me, as well, I don't want to regrind, but it does give me something in stream.
Yeah.
When people put in stream hours, it's a non-factor. People who don't have that time, it's a complete and utter terrible mechanic for them.
And I don't even think that if they don't have the time to put in it, it's something that they can set and forget it, and they could do it later. I mean, it's always going to be there. And I'm just glad that they took off. I'm glad that they're rewarding it properly. I still think that they need to reward it differently. I don't care about the signals and flags. I can already use my coal and credits to get flags. I think that they need to put in specific camos specifically toward the Research Bureau and keep them out of the hands of the wallet warriors. Keep them out of the hands of the people that play co-op. Reset these fucking boats. Well, I guess you can reset them and play co-op too, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. Then let the co-op guys do it. But they're going to take them a long time to get to tier 10 if they only play co-op. But something that you can only get to make it fucking special, to make people want to do it. Colbert's not good enough. The Ohio's not going to be good enough to make people want to do this. But give them a special camo. Give them a gold fucking camo. I don't care. Whatever. Give them a fucking waifu camo. For $1,000, let me send in my fucking bikini picture and put it up on the fucking side of the goddamn boat. I don't care. It's something to make make that grind worthwhile to you, like they used to be with the black and the flint. Winning 3 rank outs, 5 rank outs, that was fucking something special. And if you had that, that was good. And then they fucking ripped it away from you when they went to when they put out the steel, and then they sold the steel for the Steel Monsters campaign. It made it less special. So they need to have something special in this game, and I think that they can do that with the Research Bureau and giving a special camo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they said that they didn't think cosmetics would be interested in. I disagree.
Oh, I disagreed wholeheartedly.
Yeah. But they are wargaming.
But our spreadsheet said
in their mindset. So you can tell them that that's not my opinion all you want, but they care. And we're stuck with the Research Bureau as we have it now. And I agree. I don't think the ships that are currently in there are strong enough to warrant regrinding. I think they're a nice novelty to have in your, but I don't personally find the Colbert or the Ohio particularly strong right
now. They're fine, whatever. I mean, the Ohio's good at what it does. Montana's great at what it does. You can't compare the ships, and we're going to hear them. We're going to hear the comparisons all up and down the YouTube, all from all the community contributors. I'm not going to compare those boats anymore because they're 2 different play styles. You know what I'm saying? They're 2 different fucking play styles, and the Ohio does good at what it does, and the Montana does good at pretty much everything. But that's neither here nor there. As for the Colbert, I mean, it's just another fucking HE spammer. It's an Atlanta style play, which fits right into my alley. But with the big loops on it, you're really not effective over 14 kilometers anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And you are better when those boats come in. But guess what? Nobody has any huevos out there, so they're not coming in. They're staying out at 15 to 18 kilometers, making you basically relegating you to late game when people are trying to push. So that's pretty much all you're relegated to. Whereas something like the Smolensk, you can go out and chase damage. There you go. People aren't interested in permanent camos. Yeah, that's what they said. Cosmetics wasn't enough. Wasn't enough reward.
Said,
yeah.
But I said what? People would love cosmetics. Whatever.
There you go, guys.
I like Venom's idea. Just go ridiculous. I want my ship to be nice gold-plated boat.
That's right.
Gold-plated. Flash around.
Gold-plated.
Yeah, let me be the pimp of the seas.
Did you guys ever play CS:GO?
No.
Anyway, anybody ever played CS:GO knows about the skin trade. There's a lot of skins out there that are worth money. I got a knife out of a box and sold it for like $300. Right. So I mean, you can do these things. Well, there's Stat Track. There's camos out there that Stat Track that'll record how many kills you have in this boat. Or on that gun, and it would put it up to where you could actively see it on the side. Why don't they fucking Stat Track camo?
Some giant word.
Just a giant fucking number on the side of how many times I've killed somebody in it. I mean, that'd be great. Or how about a fucking a black camo that has starts out yellow stripes on it, and every time you hit 50,000 damage, it changes colors. That'd be fucking dope.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking dope as shit.
Some active cam throughout the game. Kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not user intensive. Who cares about what the other guy sees? Let me look at it. The motherfucker over there doesn't need to see it. And why the fuck can I not get goddamn tracers or change the goddamn color of my AP shells but once a year on fucking Halloween when they change it to green, or space when they change it to green? Why have that not been implemented? Make that a fucking reward. You can change the shell tracers now to purple. You can change your AP shell colors to purple. Now the other motherfuckers in the game don't have to see it.
Life changes.
Yeah, I mean that's something so easy to do, and they do it during the space battles. Why can't I get it all the way?
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, no, there's definitely things that I feel like they could have done different with the research. And I just wonder, how deep does the research go? How many tier 10 ships do we have to get through research? Because does everybody want to keep
57,000 research points, and you get 10,000 per grind, and the first one every season is double. So every 3 months you're going to get to regrind for double the points.
Right, but that's my thing. Like, how many boats are they? 2
right now.
But there's so many boats. 10 that we don't know what they're for. Slav, Thunder, Paulo Emilio. Like, how are these both?
We don't know. I mean, they haven't said. Friesland's out today. 1 million free XP. Highly recommended. I'm gonna keep going that. Hold on. I got a note. I got a couple of notes on these back in the day, and I'll tell you. Smolensk was for coal. That's out. Summers is for steel. That's out. Friesland's for free XP. That is available now. And then Colbert in the Ohio, the NTC. That was the last boats that they said where they were going to release them at. And now we're just waiting on the Ohio's the only one that hasn't been released yet, but it is in another round of testing because it was too accurate. So who knows what they're going to do? Who knows what they got coming up? We don't know. And the CCs, I'm sure when they give us the information that we can tell, we will spread it out there, and you'll see it. You'll see videos. You'll see fucking Reddit reports. You'll see a bunch of people bitching and moaning, and then you'll see it on the PTS, and you'll start seeing the devlogs as well. So you guys check that out. But either way, guys, that is it. Citizen9, we went like, dude, we went like 3 hours, bro.
I know.
Is that all right with you? I'm like, well, no choice now.
Like
it's too late.
Take it back.
Yeah, can't take it back now. Citizen S9, dude, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us here on episode 35 of the Cross Your Bow podcast. It's now in the books. If you have anything to tell them,
I'll be back for 70.
You'll be back for 70? You want to come back at 70?
I don't know.
Well, Earl Grey already reserved number 60, so.
Who's got 60?
Who's got 69? Nobody's got 69 yet.
Nice.
I might just do a solo picture. I might just put up my bikini picture and talk to myself that day.
Oh,
Self 69, it's still pretty good. All right, guys, that's it. That's all I got for you, man. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm going to give a big shout out to my man, Citizen S9. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We'd set this up a while ago. Tell them where they can find you one more time.
My Twitch page. My name in chat. There you go.
There you go. Twitch.
So if anybody wants to watch, I'll probably be live most nights, probably at about 8 p.m. Pacific. Is usually when I start up, sometimes early.
There you go. Twitch.tv/citizens9. You guys can check him out pretty much every day from 8 p.m. Pacific time.
Maybe not today because
he's tired, and I wore him out with all the sub talk. Guys, if y'all are on the YouTube channel, twitch.tv/SirVenomIK, you guys can hit me up at at Sir_Venom_IK over on the Twitter. If you guys want to talk about anything else or have a comment for me, you guys can do that. If you guys are in the YouTube channel, come on over to twitch.tv/SirVenomIK. Come talk to us live, man. Go over there and check out Citizen while he's on. Well, that's it, man. That's all I got for you. Thank you very much. 35's in the books. And next week, I got my man Krieger's going to join us on the September the 10th. September the 10th is Krieger, and it is time. Let's play. I'm going to play some games after this. Are you down, or are you going to go to bed?
I'm going to go probably do dinner. So
you're going to go do dinner? Well, if you want to play later on, hit me up, man. Let me know. But we're going to go play some fucking games, man. All right, that's it, boys.
Get that freeze together.
Hell, whoa, fuck yeah, dude. Friesland, Smolensk, cool shit, dude. I can Benham, Friesland, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, baby. I got torps for both of us. There you go, boys. That's it, man. We're going to make our hard cut here, and then we will come back with the regular show, man. Say goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.